Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. So tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama to call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth-telling, more problem-solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. Good morning, K-Man. Happy Hump Day Wednesday. We got Blake and Aaron in the studio. What's Blake doing? We're gonna mute him until he's ready. All right, how's everybody doing? Let me get my links ready for you all. Oh my gosh, I was up since 3 o'clock this morning. Not happy.
The day from CMR.
Hope you like my little piano rendition there, Sandy.
How can you not sing along to Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
I love that song, but I thought you were going to play the whole thing, so I muted you for a second there.
Yeah.
That was the end.
Yeah.
That was the end.
That was the end. I was being cognizant of the time of playing the copyrighted song on your program.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
What's up? What do you got for us?
Morning. Happy Wednesday. Yes. So a bit of sad news this morning. Unfortunately, one of K-Man's finest artists, known by so many for his amazing works, Mr. Bendel Hides, has passed away. Yeah, he's known as the founding father of contemporary art in the Cayman Islands, was a pioneer of his craft and considered one of the key figures in bringing abstract and contemporary art to the forefront in the community.
That's very sad.
Condolences, yes, spanning over half a century. So condolences.
Wow.
Family. Quite a significant loss, obviously, to the artistic community and the larger community here in the Cayman Islands. So very sad. All right. We have another case of chickenpox confirmed at this time at Red Bay Primary School. So far, Red Bay Primary is the only school that has actually confirmed that they've got a case. Everybody else has been mum about where the outbreaks are happening, but our sources revealed last week that at least some of those cases are actually at John Gray as well. So parents, just be vigilant. That's all I can tell you. Make sure your kids
are for Red Bay Primary for keeping the public informed.
Yes, absolutely. Hats off to them.
On a health situation. That's good on you guys.
Yep. Cubans have been jailed for 9 months. Now they're being ordered to be deported for escaping CBC custody. So 2 men who escaped from CBC Detention Center last week were sentenced to 9 months in prison for escaping lawful custody, where they appeared in summary court on Tuesday. Chief Magistrate Angelin Hernandez also ordered the men to be deported after serving time. So this is quite interesting because I think in the past, a lot of them still skirted by the actual deportation order, although they escaped lawful custody. So, there's different stages of, when a migrant enters the Cayman Islands. The very first stage is where they're still in custody with the authorities who are trying to verify their identity, checking, important things like police records and who they are actually.
Mhm.
So during that time, you don't have free movement. You're held at the detention center. Now, there's been a lot of criticisms about the detention center. Recently, we heard the government saying that they were going to set aside some funds to make some improvements to the conditions at the detention center, because they're really not the best. And so, yes, if you leave that detention center without authorization, which no one really has proper authorization unless you're being escorted, then you'll find yourself in trouble. So I think the courts are now minded to send very clear warning to all migrants that, the rules apply to everybody.
Isn't there somebody at the front desk? Make sure they don't leave.
How many doors are there?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, this is at Fairbanks, and they're kind of in that outside side section. So in the past, we've actually seen them scaling the fence and just leaving. So,
Is that where you're held as well if you overstay, if you're in immigration custody?
I think so, especially if it's for a longer duration of time. Yeah, that is the detention center.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they also use police lockup if it's just for like a day or two, but that's not really built for long-term stays. So, right. Please don't forget, this Friday is World Blood Donor Day. Go and donate some blood. Encourage other people to get registered and to donate. Very, very important, initiative, because it saves lives.
Yep. Do we do plasma here too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plasma. Yep. We did a whole show on it yesterday with Health.
Oh. Get paid for it? That's like I know people who would donate plasma in the States just to get like extra money.
Somebody else asked that exact same question, and the short of it is no.
Oh.
So those are your news headlines. It's beautiful Wednesday morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sandy, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Have a good
Wonderful.
one.
Have a good one. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Buenos dias. Let me grab my link of links, and I'm going to be sending them out. Hold on. Let me mute that. All right. Give me one quick second. Today is going to be a bit of a rapid fire day. We got a lot to cover. So we're going to hit the ground running. And let's do it. So, all right. So just give me 1 second here. All right. So grabbing the links for everybody on WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook. Okay, give me one quick second. Yeah, you can set it there. Just switch this up some. Oh, my foot has been killing me all night from 3 o'clock this morning. I'm literally in a lot of pain. It's always the right foot tends to bother me more than the left foot, folks. So I've had my TENS machine literally on rotation because it only lasts for an hour. And I have been rotating it through. Every hour it stops and I start it back up again because the pain is still there. I'll tell you what, chronic pain is a heck of a thing. No bueno, not nice at all. All right, those of you who live with chronic pain, you have sympathy for me. I never know when this is going to flare up. So sometimes sometimes I know, actually. Sometimes I can kind of see when it's coming. And I think part of me knew that it was coming yesterday because last night I did the foot massage, but it was like already too late. So what to do? All right. Still got to be thankful in all things. Give thanks, because other than that, we are pretty good. And we are 6 feet up, not 6 feet under. And so that alone is something to be grateful for. My condolences. Another Caymanian passed away this morning. You guys just heard about Mr. Bendel Hydes, obviously. But we also had Miss Teresa also passed away as well. Daisy Cunningham's sister, unfortunately, has passed away. So our condolences to that entire family as well. Tough times for sure. All right. Everybody else is good. Giving thanks. Hallelujah. And praise the Lord. Okay. Let me see what we got going on here. Who is with me this morning? All right. Alton Moxham joining us. Are you still in the Brack, sir? He says, big shout out to CMR and the crew. Thank you. Good morning. He says, good morning, Cayman Islands #1 news broadcast. Big shout out. Yes, thank you so much. I know you used to be in the BRAC. Are you still there? Or are you now on the Big Island? Barbara G is with us. Thank you, Miss Barbara. How are you? Wishing everybody a great day. Patricia Blake in the house. Marshall joining us. The regular suspects are here. Look at Mr. Andy from La Ceiba. Buenos dias. Miss Morna, so good to see you, along with Wee Wee, Olivia. First Lady is here. Felicia Rankin. Now, I know it's taken you guys a minute to realize that we have the backup feed going for YouTube. So I'm actually going to try to send it out on, hold on one second. I was remembering something this morning that there was a way that we could send messages. I haven't done this in a really long time, so I'm trying to remember how this works now. There was a way that we could do push. Yes, we could do web push messages. So those of you who signed up to our website, we can actually push a message to you. I'm trying to remember exactly how this works, to be honest. I haven't done this in years. So we have over 26,000 people there. Total subscription records, 86.6 thousand. And then the ones that are subscribed to the push notifications is 26.4. So let me send the push message and see. YouTube. Okay. Send to subscribed users, English. Let's just say tune in now. Oh, look at that. Wow, they've actually changed it since I did it last time. Don't y'all love modern technology? Look at this. Let me show y'all something. Let me show you how it actually shows up. This is pretty cool. Boy, I love me some technology. I got to tell you the truth. It has made all of our lives so much better over the years. But as I'm typing it, it's showing me a preview of how it's going to pop up on your screens. And look at the preview. Look at this. It'll show up. That's the Google Chrome version. It'll pop up in your little notification area, just like that. Kaboom! Look at that. Modern technology. And then upload or input URL. Upload or input URL. That looks like an image. So I want to do launch URL. So hold on now, honey chill. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the YouTube one. Platform settings, send to Google Chrome, to Apple Web, to Edge, Mozilla Firefox. All right. Okay, let's try it and see. Those of you who are sitting by a computer right now should get this. Send. Okay, let me see now. Where's the send button? Review and send. Okay. Send immediately. Send message. There we go. Boom. Success. Your message has started. Wow. Gotta love technology. I tell you, it's the truth. And then we can do email and SMS as well. I don't think we ever send email ones like that, so that's a little bit different. All right, let's get it. Hold on. Let me see. Oops. Sorry. Okay. So lots to talk about today. We got the Meals on Wheels program director coming up here at 8 o'clock. Okay. Okay. And so, yes, they're going to come on, and then we're going to have Mr. Former Premier Panton on the program, and he's going to be talking about the National Conservation Law and the rumblings of changes that are going to be made to that piece of legislation. So, my apologies, quite a bit going on this morning. Before we get to that, let's jump into a couple of things. So yesterday's program, we were answering some questions, some listener questions, a little bit of an Ask Sandy / Sort 'em Out Sandy segment. And there was one that we hadn't gotten to that I want to take some time this morning and actually address. So I got some information, which, by the way, in case you missed it, we were at the airport yesterday, late morning, early afternoon, when the two Krifta champs returned, Jaden and Devontae. They both came back. So we do have some interviews. We'll play those maybe before our guests come on. I'll play those with you. Very fine young men doing their best. Of course, as a community, we need to give them as much of our support as we possibly can. So the question, I was thinking of sports, and that's why I thought of them. The question really yesterday, let me just pull it up so I can read it properly, is regarding football. And a lot of people, send me stuff about the Football Association. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know very much about the Football Association. I hear complaints. I do hear rumblings. And I hear people saying, Sandy, I can't wait for the day that you do an expose on them. Well, I can't possibly do an expose on them if nobody's telling me what's going on. And so when I tell you that I simply don't know what this is all about, what the jive is, whatever, if I don't know, then I don't know. I can't talk about what I don't know. Simple as that. So if you guys have concerns, I would suggest you simply reach out. That's the way to do it. Some of y'all afraid. Y'all claim that, they're going to, I don't know what they're going to do to you, but you're all afraid of the Football Association. They're going to stop your kids from playing. Well, I keep telling y'all, the day that Caymanians understand that there is power in numbers, you guys will never be beholden to anyone again in your entire life. No one can take that away from you, because if every single parent stood up and said, okay, we've had enough, we're boycotting, not a single child is going to come to any of your events, all the professional players or semi-professional players or whatever said, nope, that's it. How can an association function without any of those people? I'm just saying. I find it peculiar that you guys are so afraid, because I'm kind of like, well, you need to do it together. But in the real world, I get it. There's too many of you who simply don't have the backbone to get things done. You're too afraid, scaredy, and that's to your detriment. So if you only have 10% of the people having the cojones to say, yes, we're going to stand up, we're going to do this, and the rest of you are sitting back, doing God knows what, it's not going to work. So you do need that collectiveness, that cohesiveness to make it work. So y'all going to have to figure it out. And I do recognize on a regular basis that a lot of you like to run to me and say, oh, you do it for us. And I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go again. What a mess. The funny thing is, when I first came back to Cayman, I'll never forget that there was a lot of times when I was unsure about the narrative. Like I could hear people like Caymanians complaining, and I'm thinking, is this what's really going on? I'd lived in the States for 15 years. So I'm like, is this really what's going on? Because if that is the case, why aren't you guys speaking up? And they would be like, no, Sandy, you speak up, you do it. And they'd push me out in the front. And then I turn back and go, where is everybody? Nothing but tumbleweeds behind me. And I'll never forget the words of Sharon Pearson. Sharon, when I was at Maples, Sharon said to me one day, she said, Sandy, you've got to stop doing this. She said, how does this benefit you in any way? And I was like, okay. She said, yeah, these people, they're pushing you in the forefront, and they have no intentions of ever allowing their own voices to be heard. That was well over 20 years ago. And believe me when I tell you, that remains a true statement even today. All right, so here's the question. Oh, Instagram folks, almost forgot about y'all this morning. Give me a second. Let me get the IG feed going, because this is something I suspect a lot of young people on Instagram might want to listen to. So 1 second. So this is a football related question this morning. Right. So those of you who suffer from chronic pain, I can tell you that this little device, I can't pull it too far because it's actually connected to my foot at the moment. This little device is called a TENS machine. You can buy these, is a lifesaver. And I've been on this since 3 o'clock this morning. I don't even know if you're supposed to have it on that long. I've got 46 minutes left in this segment. Normally 1 session is enough, but boy, this is a rough one today. All right. Good morning to everyone again. Ms. Morna says, cry, and talk, and no show. Caymanians all the time, including me. Well, at least you are willing to admit it, my friend. Good morning, Evangelist Olafima. So good to see you joining us from the UK. Good morning, Dee Dee, Sonia, Miss Darlene, Mackenzie. Now, every time, Miss Darlene, I see you, I think of the other Darlene, because she would always say, whenever I would read one of your comments, she would say, Sandy, make sure you let people know there's 2 Darlenes commenting on the show. And that comment was from the other Darlene. So make me chuckle. But here we are now. Only you, Darlene, commenting. My sweet. Bless her little heart. So this is the question. Question of the day. This person says, hello. I wanted to ask this question this morning when I heard about the men winning the football match over the weekend. If they have to go to Cuba for the next game, will that hinder them from going to the U.S. after that? Or does CIFA have some arrangement for players going to Cuba for matches that doesn't affect their eligibility to enter the U.S.? So this is a fantastic question, actually, because we know that as of late, there has been this sort of policy change, really, where the, what's it called? The United States government, Homeland Security, has classified Cuba as a terrorist, what's the official term? Like a terrorist supporting country. I'll have to, hold on. I don't think that's right terminology, but so what that means is for those Caymanians who have a ESTA, and that's the waiver program that allows us to, freely go in and out of the U.S. with very little problems. If you have an ESTA, your ESTA could potentially now be taken from you. So this is a significant situation, because if it's taken from you, then you have to go through the process of getting a U.S. visa to be able to enter the United States of America. And nope, that's not true. Nope. I'm going to clarify that. Somebody said they've been removed from that list. Actually, this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I want to make sure that y'all are crystal clear about what the U.S. has recently done. That's not what they've done, actually. And it is a little bit confusing, because if you read the article, you may have thought to yourself that you're good to go back to Cuba. And honey child, you go over there looking at a new wife, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. You have to stay over there with that wife. So what this does, basically they just cancel your ESTA. They don't even tell you, from what I understand. You just show up at the airport one day and you're like, oh, I'm ready to go. Whee! And then next thing you know, boom, you have no ESTA. And, the airport's like, sorry, we can't let you on that plane. Cayman Airways has fined an exorbitant amount of money, something like $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 or something, if they let someone on the flight who does not have the requisite authorization, like, paperwork, to be able to go on that flight. I told you guys last time what happened to me. I was supposed to be going out for the day and showed up happy-go-lucky. Says, yes, let's get this one-day trip in. And lo and behold, they were like, "Oh, we don't see an ESTA in here for you." And I was like, "What?" I'm thinking, I didn't go to Cuba. Y'all not catch me with that, honey child. I don't want no Cuban man. Sorry. Come to find out, it had nothing to do with a trip to Cuba. It had expired. Ugh. Why did one of young people call me Dodo Breen? What a hot mess. So, by the time I was able to jump on my laptop and renew it, it was too late. The plane that I can't believe Cuban Airways. The plane that day had to be on time. The one time I'm like, Cal, take your time. Find a reason to be late. God send some rain, something. That plane left right on time. And I got my ESTA approved an hour later, and they're like, too bad for you, honey Jill. So it's a very serious matter. So I reached out to the powers that be, and this was the response. Hold on now. Let me get the proper response from them. So this is something, again, that is still very much an issue. So they have indicated that, hold on one second now. Okay. So basically, where's the answer? Oh gosh, I'm trying to find the answer. I'm not seeing it. Let me look at my phone. Hold on one second. So basically, the short answer is the group was supposed to play their next game in Cuba. They cannot go because the situation still very much persists. So they are not allowed to travel to Cuba under the present conditions. The match was supposed to be, I think, this Saturday at, hold on one second. Let me see. I think it's this Saturday at like 6:30 or something. But yeah, the short answer is they can't go. Oh, this person turned off disappearing messages, so I don't even have the message anymore. Ugh, I hate when people do that. Anyway, from memory, the short answer is they can't go. And the association was not able to do anything to change that situation. They said that they reached out to somebody and they attempted to see if there could be an exception made. And essentially, they were told no exception made. So it is what it is, unfortunately. So yeah, they would have forfeited the game. And I'm trying to remember what, why did this person turn on disappearing messages? Why do y'all do that? Like, what y'all trying to hide? Hold on. I think what they said to me was that, let me just see if I can get it again. It does actually impact. It does actually impact their, like, how far they will actually go in the CONCACAF rankings. But, unfortunately, that's a trade-off. Now, May 21st, May 17th, in fact, and we updated the story on May 21st, we did a story about the U.S. removing Cuba from the list of uncooperating countries. And people are confusing this with the terrorist list. So I did have Renee go back because we don't want to confuse anybody. We don't want you running to Cuba thinking you can get your third and fourth wife, and that when you find out you no longer have a visa, then ESTA, I should say, you're going to be blaming CMR. Eddie joining us from Edisville, joining us from Vegas. Hey, how you doing? So what they did was, this is a different list apparently. So they were removed. Cuba was removed from a list of countries that the U.S. claims is not cooperating fully, but it in its fight against terrorism, and that is not the same. Listen carefully. It is not the same as taking it off of the state sponsor of terrorism list. So they're two different lists. Authorities said, well, maybe this is one step closer to removal from that other list, right? So you still are not cleared. When this article came out last month, I think a lot of you were under the mistaken impression that you could then travel to Cuba without any impact on your ESTA That does not apply. That is still very much a real thing. So I caution you to please understand that, in fact, there is a difference between the two. They're two very, very different lists. Okay. So be careful. And I think it is very sad, quite honestly, that on the heel of the win that we've just had, that yes, our team can't go to Cuba. They're on a high. Like, I would have loved for them to go to Cuba and play. Who were they playing again in Cuba? But I would have loved for them to have gone and be able to play. So it's unfortunate. And I don't know if CONCACAF is aware of the situation. They were actually playing Cuba in Cuba. Okay. I don't know if CONCACAF is aware of this situation, but in my opinion, maybe they could have made some concession where it doesn't really count against us. Like, I don't know. Like, there needed to be more communication with either the CONCACAF higher ups and authorities, since the U.S. government isn't going to budge on this just for a football match, or something. So that's that story. That's thank you for the question. Like I said, it's a good question, allowed us to clarify and address a few different things. All right, we've got our guests waiting. Someone said that CONCACAF is aware, but refused to do anything. No bueno. What a hot mess. That's why I can't be putting my weight behind these sporting organizations. All right, let's have their position is that Cuba's entitled to home match. What a hot mess. All right. Cuba didn't want to lose their home court advantage, says another person. Listen, in the world of football, I couldn't tell you much of what's going on, but here you go. So funny. Did this? Oh my God! You guys are totally not going to believe this. You are so not going to believe this. 7:22 this morning. Here I am answering this question, and I'm just checking my emails. Y'all see what I keep telling y'all about Auntie Sandy and her goat mountain, her 6 cents? Y'all don't believe me, but here's proof positive. I got that question a couple of days ago. I'm only now getting to it. I wanted to get to it yesterday. And what is sitting in my inbox at 7:23 a.m.? An email from a particular attorney talking about Cayman is going to forfeit the World Cup match in Cuba because of the visa sanction. What we were just literally talking about. And I'm now just seeing this message. That's the kind of thing I tell you happens to me all the time. So I'm going to let him know I was just discussing it. Quite coincidentally. Because I definitely did not see this article. But yes, it's an issue. There you go. Morning, Miss Olive. All right, quick snippet from yesterday's return home of our champs. And then we're going to go to our Meals and Wheels segment. And then after that, we have former Premier Wayne Panton, who's going to be joining us this morning to talk about the National Conservation Act. All right, folks. So we're here today at Owen Robert International Airport with Jaden and Devontae. They are representing Grifter winners. They're welcome back home. This is the first time you guys are back home since the event. Wow. So you've been pretty busy. Tell us what you've been up to since the actual races.
We've been in the NCAA championships.
Okay.
We both competed in the 4x1.
Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had collegiate athletics to attend to, so that we weren't able to come back home before this.
Right.
But now that that's over, and we were both some of the only freshmen to make the championship. So now that that's over, we can come back home and celebrate.
Definitely. So under 20 world record holders. Tell us a little bit about, was this year different? The races, the vibe, the location, or do you just go in, focus on what you need to do, just get it done, and that's it?
I would say the vibe was definitely different. Both of us knew exactly what we wanted. We already knew that we wanted the gold and the silver, so we came in laser focused and said, we just got to go for it.
Yeah, I feel like there was more confidence going into it because in Bahamas, I already got a taste of a gold before. And then knowing that Jaden was fully fit this time and able to come and run as well, then I knew that, it was something big that we could do.
Yeah. And both of you are in university.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's LSU?
Louisiana State University.
Yeah, nice, sweet. And you are at
University of Tennessee.
University of Tennessee. So having to, study abroad, you're trying to balance obviously academics and athletics. What advice would you give young people who are like, yeah, I want to be the fastest, I want to do that, but it's also important for you guys to study hard and think about life maybe outside of the athletic arena a little bit?
Yeah. So in my opinion, school always have to come first because without school you can't go out on the track. Without good grades you can't go out on the track, and that's like one of the biggest policies in college. If your grades drop too low, then you can't compete, you can't train. You have to pick those up first. So once your grades are good, then you can go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree because after track and field, what is next? You still have to have a future after track and field. So you have to put your schoolwork first and then track after.
Absolutely. So how did you guys feel about this amazing and warm welcome here? You got, did both of you go to Prospect?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
You're right there, actually.
All right.
Right there on the wall.
Oh,
Yes,
wow. Okay, representing. And then, of course, John Gray. How did you feel about seeing the kids come out to greet you? Steel bands. They pulled out the stops for you today.
It felt amazing, because ever since we're in Prospect, we're in the same class and everything. We already knew.
Are you guys the same age?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, we already knew that we wanted to reach this far in track and reach even further. Ever since sports day, we were both in Miller, and we went to interprimary, took down Red Bay and Savannah. So, it means a lot to us to see that, we're having an impact on our whole school.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Awesome.
Honestly, it's a great feeling because it came from, honestly, like best friends growing up, sleepovers together and whatnot, both having the same goal, going over and achieving it. It's a great feeling.
Wow, that's like the dynamic duo. I got you. Very cool. Well, congratulations again. What's coming up for this season? Anything exciting that you're looking forward to?
Well, we leave for Bahamas in a couple of days, right? So,
okay.
So Bahamas and then World U20s, where we hope to do the same thing again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, congratulations and good luck and much continued success.
Thank you.
All right. And of course, those young men focused on their education first and foremost, but they can get nowhere without the support system that has been surrounding them. So it really does take a village. There was a Caymanian lady there. I can't remember her name. The grandma was there for sure. The moms were there. Siblings, like one of the kids from Prospect is actually a brother. I think it was Jaden's brother. And then Devontae's sister, who goes to John Gray High School, was also there as part of the returning athletes. So phenomenal job, but we had to speak to the moms because we know the amazing sacrifice that they would have made in order to ensure that these young men have had every opportunity to do what they love. And I didn't realize that they were best friends, actually, same age and really had the same vision of exactly what they wanted to do. So it's phenomenal when you have that level of support. You have someone from your same little island, you're both running, they're obviously at different schools now, but they can share, have a shared experience with a lot of this. So here's us speaking to the two moms as well. All right, folks, so we've got the moms here of Devontae and Jaden. So congratulations, first of all. I know the two of you must be just amazingly proud of these young men. But as mothers, you've got your work cut out for you. What would you say? Like maybe there's some other mothers who are listening going, how do you raise a young man who is balanced, going out there striving, giving his best, doing really well at what they want to do, which is run and be fantastic in athletics? What advice would you give any mother out there that's listening?
We just have to encourage them, be there for them, support them, be at their track meets, liaise with their coaches, and just keep them grounded. Humble, because humility is one of the big things, and discipline. And this transcends over to their studies, because they have to be disciplined for training, right, Kim?
Yes.
So this goes over into schoolwork. Because even with this track, with the track scholarship, they wouldn't have had such, what would we say, Kim? They wouldn't have had this.
They need the discipline.
Yes, they needed the discipline.
And it takes a village, and for us to take all the praise will be wrong.
Yes.
For me, I have a wide village, and I am thankful for all of my friends and family that stick by Devontae and us. It's difficult at times, and sometimes I doubt myself as a parent that I am on the right path. But, when things like this happen, it's like, you did a good job.
The sacrifices.
The sacrifices,
right,
you know, and Devontae, he knows the sacrifice we made in terms of sending him off to high school and now into college financially and so on, you know. It wasn't easy and it isn't easy, but we continue to do what's best for them.
Yes, not only financially, we had to give up our children early. They are gone from their 40s.
Yes.
Right. Remember, these guys, they are coming from Prospect Primary School. They grew up together. They were always friends. At the same
That's
time,
what they were saying, like a dynamic duo.
So we are always, we are the village.
Yes.
With the Mustang Track Club and the schools and whatever, we have to be there for them. And, you know, we are just extremely proud of them. And with this, we just want the other athletes or other children to know that this is doable.
Yeah.
Schoolwork,
Keep striving. It's not easy, but
it's not easy. It wasn't easy for us because we were without our children.
Even for them as athletes, you know, like we get situations where, for Devontae, I could speak where he's off on a weekend for a meet. He's back on Wednesday. He got to pick up what was left off on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and he's gone again on Sunday. Each weekend is a different track meet, and he's still expected to perform academic-wise. So
even
it's difficult.
Yeah, even after they run Friday, Saturday night, Sunday morning, they were doing homework. They had to be doing their schoolwork.
Yeah. So you know, you don't look at it and say yes, they're doing good on the track. They
also
have
to do both
academic-wise in order to be there. Yes.
Yeah, and they were speaking to that actually because of course there will be a life post athletics, and you got to prepare and make sure those opportunities are there for these young men. So that's absolutely amazing. So congratulations to both of you. I mean, it must have been amazing to see the young kids, especially Prospect Primary, come out and support and John Gray. I know more kids wanted to come out, but some were sitting exams and stuff today. You've got younger children as well?
I do. I have a 14-year-old, a 11-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Wow.
Yes,
so you really got your hands full?
They're also in track.
They're all athletic as well?
Yes.
Wonderful. And do you find then that your boys serve as a mentor in the household for their younger siblings also?
Yes, I would say that. Devontae, my 14-year-old, is preparing now. She's ready to go off to the U.S. She just wants to be like her brother.
Yes. And even for the track club, again, they are, you see them, they look up to them, you know. Yes, and they're in constant dialogue with them. They are always encouraging them. And as we said, we are proud of them.
Absolutely. Well,
just want to say thank you to everybody, especially Mustang Track Club. I want to say a huge thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you. All right, folks. Thanks very much to the parents, and congratulations again to both of these young men and their families. And it's something positive for all of us to strive. So thank you, Ms. Charmaine. She says, congratulations to both young men and proud parents who stand behind them. Ms. Judy McTaggart said, congratulations to the moms as well. CJW says, good morning, Miss Sandy. Where's the support from the fathers? I'm assuming that maybe they had to work and couldn't get off. I don't know. But, as they said, it's taken a village. So the people who could be there were there. And I think also interestingly enough, some of the kids wanted to be there, but they are sitting exams. And so I believe that was the coach from Prospect Primary was saying that more kids wanted to come, but because they were sitting exams, they could not make it. So Hunter says, proud of the moms. Louise says they deserve a kaboom. Miss Judy says, congratulations to both of our athletes. Negra Pula says, congratulations for the both of you. Also the parents that did a great job and supported them. Irvlin says, hashtag teamwork. Johan says, congrats to these two outstanding young men for their discipline and dedication, and their parents and support groups. At this elite university level, you make all Caymanians proud. Irvlin said that Jaden has grown up, not shy anymore. Good for him. All right, folks. So let's go ahead and welcome our guests on today's program. Thank you, Miss Marcia. She says she remembers when we used to play cricket together. Congratulations to your son. Oh, to his mom, Kim. Yes, there you go. All right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. Irvlin says Jaden's dad and sister were there to meet. There were some men there, to be honest. I don't know these young men like that, so I couldn't tell you what their parents who their dads are or anything like that. But it's possible that the moms were the ones who just had the kahunas to get in front of the microphone. So thank you very much, Evelyn. You know, women tend to do a lot in communities. I'm just saying. Okay, honey child, let's welcome Miss Jennifer West this morning. Hello, Miss Jennifer.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So you are here with the Meals on Wheels program. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your very, very busy day, because I know you hit the ground running early in the morning, with us today to talk about Meals on Wheels and a number of initiatives that you guys have going on for the organization. So for people who may have absolutely no idea what Meals on Wheels is, Ms. Jennifer is the general manager. Can you tell us a little bit about the program?
So Meals on Wheels has been around since 1997. It initially began with feeding 3 seniors in Georgetown. That grew to feeding 15 seniors in Georgetown. To now we serve all 5 districts Monday to Friday. We're providing food support and beyond to over 350 seniors, infirm and homebound every single day. We have a very small staff team of 3, but we have an incredible pool of volunteers that make sure that our seniors are taken care of across the island.
So beautiful. So your staff only 3 strong, but of course the volunteer core that you have being extremely important. I've got a girlfriend every Saturday. She's always messaging saying that, nope, I can't join you for any social functions because I've got to go deliver soup and meals in West Bay as part of the Meals and Wheels program. So big shout out to Susie, who's always doing that on her Saturdays, takes time out of her social life to really give back to the community. So how many volunteers roughly do you guys have?
On a weekly basis, we have at least 120 volunteers across the island.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And of course, could always use more?
Well, the good thing is we have a waiting list of volunteers. We have had volunteers that have been delivering meals for 20 years, 15 years. So once they get on a route and you start developing relationships with the seniors, because that's the thing. It's not just about the food. It's about that social connection. It's about, connecting them with the community. A lot of our seniors, they don't see anybody throughout the day. So they're waiting for that knock on the door and a few minutes with the volunteer who's going to tell them what's going on and even letting them know about their own life. And so we have a waiting list of volunteers. However, we do have a lot of events that we have volunteers assist with. We also have volunteers that come into the office. So we have volunteers that are able to assist with things above and beyond delivering the meals, even after the rain that we had earlier this week. We have volunteers that will come. And if we have a senior that has had a leak or any damage to their home, we have volunteers that will go out and utilize their specialized skills to assist with repairs and beautification and fixing up anything that the senior.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Actually, I'm glad to hear that. So, I mean, that's so amazing. And I know that what you just said about, how the seniors really look forward to having that contact and that's so critical to them and their emotional, it's a bit of emotional support that they know there's some degree of consistency that someone is going to show up with a meal for them. Now, can you tell me, I see it looks like your internet just chipped out there, but I wonder if you can tell us, is it how many meals per day are you delivering to the seniors? Is it just the 1 meal per day? And then do they have enough where, if they want a little snack later on, that they can eat out of that as well? I think Jennifer's internet just started acting up. This week, the internet's been a bit dodgy. We saw that on Tuesday. That was yesterday as well with the doctor there. So she'll come back in. She just dropped out. So just rejoin us, honey chow. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet this week, but it does seem to be a little bit on the dodgy side. Is it because of the rain? Miss Pearson, is that you? Hello, honey chow. So I just gave you the backup YouTube channel. So yes, we are in the backup channel for the next week. We're in YouTube jail. Nothing too bad, just a week. They said that we played the what's it called? We have a strike against us. We played the Apple event, and apparently we're not supposed to do that. So they put us in YouTube jail for a minute. You are most welcome. There you go. Yeah, so just go, for those of you listening on the radio, just always save that one. Follow and subscribe to that page. in case there's any issues, you can always jump on. And it is the name is Cayman Mall Road, Cayman. And if you type that in, you should be able to find it. So poor Miss Jennifer, her internet just tripped out there. So hopefully she'll be rejoining us here shortly. So there was an accident this morning, by the way. And good morning. I saw the live feed yesterday and I've seen Jaden's daddy there too. He's a police officer, but wasn't in uniform, but was there. Oh, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I mean, there were some men there as well, but I have no clue who they are. Very good. Miss Jennifer's connection. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Fingers crossed. Okay, ready? Okay. Hello. Oh, it's still spinning. Hi. Yeah, looks like we had a little bit of an issue with the internet.
My computer has completely shut down. I don't know what happened, so I'm on my phone.
Okay, no worries, no worries. I wonder if you can rotate the phone. Let's see. That way we can see a little more of you, I think. There we go. Yes, honey chill. Now we get to see you in all of your beautiful glory. Thank you very much. Okay, good stuff. So we were saying, that you've got an amazing, just group of volunteers that help with the distribution of the foods. And you were saying that there's more volunteer opportunities for people who might be able to assist, with anything really that these seniors may need. But I was asking, is it just one meal per day that is delivered, or how does that work? How much are we actually giving them, and do they have something to snack on a little bit later in the day?
So what the typical delivery includes a cup of soup and a hot plate that will have a starch, a protein, some vegetables. So for some of the seniors, they will have a soup when it's delivered and have the regular meal a bit later on. We also do a supplemental grocery program. So for the seniors that we know need the additional support, then they are given grocery bags at least once a week. Yesterday we sent out mangoes. Today we'll send out some bananas. So there's other things that we do send out, especially with the long weekend coming up. We already have our grocery bags that are being packed to send out. So people do have access to food even before their meals get there. For example, it's hurricane season, so we are also packing hurricane kits. We also, we always try to have emergency supplies if we know that weather is coming in, but especially on weekends and long weekends, those that need the additional support, we try to have those things in place, because the daily meal is a plated meal and the soup for some people who can't have solid foods, and they would get porridge instead, or mashed potatoes, because every meal is packed for the individual. It's not just a blanket, everybody gets the same thing. We have to accommodate dietary needs and everything else that we are trying to cater to.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's quite a bit. How do you guys keep up with the, my goodness, you must have some notes on every single person. My apologies. How many seniors are currently benefiting from the Meals on Wheels program?
We have 350, between 330 to 350 on a daily basis. We also have unfortunately, we have a waiting list. We try not to have people on there too long, but you are stuck not financially only, but also depending on the catchment area. Because our volunteers do take their lunch hours to go deliver these meals, we can't expect them to stop at 50 houses. So depending on where you live, you might be on a waiting list, or if, financially, we have to constantly raise funds to make sure that we can continue to provide meals for someone. Because once we take someone on, it's not like we're just providing meals for a day. We have to be able to sustain those meals to them each day.
All right. Well, let's talk then about how people who are listening to the program today can help. You have a number of opportunities that are coming up, fundraising opportunities, volunteer opportunities. So let's talk a little bit about each of these. So ways in which people can help include donations, referrals. So tell me, how people can donate and what they can do.
So we have a very easy online system where people can go and you can donate $7. That will feed a senior for a day. You can donate to to provide meals for a week, a month, or you can provide meals to someone for an entire year. It just takes your debit card or credit card online. It's a very secure website, www.pledgeasenior.com. You can volunteer, like we said, you can register to volunteer to deliver meals, to offer your specialized assistance, to volunteer with our fundraising events, or even to just come into the office to assist with calling the seniors or just checking on people. Or you can refer a senior. Anyone can refer a senior. We have seniors that refer themselves. We have doctors that will refer clients. We have other organizations that refer their clients to us as well. So really, it does take the entire community to make this organization work.
And I must say, $7 a day sounds awfully inexpensive. That sounds like a good deal. So I'm sure that's made possible by other donations that are supplementing the cost of the meals.
Well, we are trying our very best to keep our meal costs down. We all go to the store and we see exactly how much food costs. So if we were to really put a figure on it, we couldn't definitely. So the people that are cooking our meals are honestly, they're also volunteers donating their own time to provide these meals. And we're trying to find ways where we're buying in bulk to ensure that we're able to keep costs down. But we know that this is something we're going to have to address and try to supplement, because unfortunately we don't get a lot of food donations. I get comments all the time, oh, Meals on Wheels gets all their food donated from X supermarket or X wholesaler. And unfortunately we don't. Sometimes we'll get a call, like yesterday we got a call to pick up mangoes. Sometimes we'll get a call to pick up bread, but honestly, almost every single thing that we're cooking on a daily basis, we're having to go out and purchase, just like everybody else from the store.
So let me understand what you're saying, though, in terms of food donations. So I've got a mango tree that is so loaded this year. My God, the mango is actually hanging literally on the ground. It's so loaded. I don't actually eat that particular kind of mango, so I'm not going to eat them. In our household, there's only so much that one other adult could possibly eat. So if I want to donate some of those mangoes to your organization, I can just give you a call and say, hey, Jennifer, come and have a go at the mango tree.
Absolutely. We love backyard farmers who are not even necessarily backyard farmers. We have people call us and say, hey, we have too many green bananas. We've got some breadfruits. We've got tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever it is. Honestly, everybody pitching in. Our community is very generous. We all have something we can give. It doesn't necessarily need to be money. You might not even have time. But if you have mangoes in the back of your yard, now some of our seniors, they love mangoes, and because of diabetes, they're limited to how many they can have. But again, every little bit helps, because whether we're going to make juice and send them out some juice, or we're going to give it to them fresh, or we're going to use it in some other recipe, there's definitely something that we could do with what you have.
Wow. All right, folks. I hope you guys are paying attention and jotting down some notes. My students are quiet, but I know that means that you all are paying attention and how you can help the Meals on Wheels program. So you have a pilot research study. Tell us a little bit about what this is.
So we are officially members of Meals on Wheels America, and we are so grateful for that partnership, not just because of the ability to access information, but because they are so entrenched with studying the benefits of Meals on Wheels service. We don't have a lot of senior care or senior activities here in Cayman, and unfortunately, this is a problem around the world. However, the research that Meals on Wheels America is doing, as you can see on the screen, there's a benefit so much more than just the nutrition of the meals that they're getting, the reduction in loneliness, their ability to stay at home. It actually, there's a deeper study in this where it talks about the reduction of falling, just because of the fact that you have someone who is checking on you every day. We have had cases here in Cayman where we've had volunteers climbing through windows because somebody has fallen indoors and was unable to get to the door, and the door was locked. But when you think about it, if we didn't have somebody checking on some of these seniors, they would be there for, unfortunately, who knows how long. So Meals on Wheels is really a connection to the entire community. We often have to follow up and give doctors calls or call family members to say, your family member is not well. The volunteer just went to check on them, and have them go home, or sometimes we've had to call ambulances. And unfortunately, the other extreme is people are so isolated and lonely. In a country so small as Cayman, we really wouldn't expect to have these issues going on, but our seniors are alone. We have, family members who live out in the eastern districts and might be coming into town to work. And during the day, the seniors aren't necessarily connected on social media like we are. Like, we have news in an instant in the palm of our hand. Our seniors don't have smartphones or Wi-Fi or computers to stay up. So it's really a connection with what's going on a daily basis as well.
Very good. So thank you so much for that. Now, what's the time period for the research study? When does it start and when does it end?
They have already started it. So it's been going on for the last 2 years, and they continue to do these research studies. We're hoping that we can get some specific data out of Cayman eventually as well. Meals on Wheels is a program that exists around the world. So the studies are happening in different countries, but this research is specifically through the US, and they're obviously studying more people than we even have in population, but the evidence is the same here.
Yes, of course. Wonderful. All right. Very good. And Loneliness Awareness Week coming up here now, June. We're actually in it already, June the 10th through the 16th. Tell us a little bit about what Loneliness Awareness Week is.
Well, it is just bringing awareness to the fact that loneliness and isolation is such a unfortunate part of our seniors' lives. We all know what it felt like to be in lockdown. You're alone, you're at home, you want to see someone and you can't. And unfortunately, that is the reality for a lot of our seniors. So this week, we want to encourage people to check on your neighbors, check on your elderly family members, check on that person you might not have seen for a little while, and you know that you used to see them sitting on their front porch. Because unfortunately, without us really connecting with our seniors, with our elderly, with our infirm, they might be sitting at home alone. Our volunteers, we love them, but as I mentioned, they are volunteering their time mainly during their lunch hour. And so they don't get to spend a lot of time with the seniors. We do have some that will go back on the weekends or later on in the afternoon or on a day off and have more time to spend with them. But the seniors, if we could sit and spend an hour a day with each senior, they would love nothing more. So if the entire community would pull together and play a role in breaking that loneliness and isolation of the seniors, that would be fantastic for them and for our entire community.
All right, folks. So in celebration or recognition, I should say, of Loneliness Awareness Week, please, reach out to someone. We've seen where things have happened to seniors in our community and we didn't know till days later. They had a slip and fall or a little incident or whatever. And people are like, oh my gosh, how can we live in such a small community and not even know in particular what's happening with our seniors? So, we know who would be categorized as vulnerable individuals in our neighborhoods. I said even last week in preparation for hurricane season, reach out to those individuals before a storm comes and just try to ascertain if they have a support network in place where something happens that they're going to be okay. Someone's going to be checking on them and making sure that if they need to go to a shelter, they have transportation. Sometimes a lot of elderly people will have pets for company, for companionship. And so also check in to see if they're going to need any help with their pets and stuff as well. It's really all about community as much as possible. So, Ms. Jennifer, we've got one more here, which is your upcoming Meals on Wheels Spinning and Fitness Team Challenge. So tell us a little bit about this coming up on Saturday, June the 22nd.
Well, this is our biggest tongue twister. The Wheels for Meals on Wheels event was started just last year, actually, by the Leadership Cayman class of 2023. That's a program that the Chamber of Commerce runs. And Meals on Wheels was chosen as their charity to support last year. And they started this event. And it was a fun and fantastic event that brought companies together, that brought family and friends together. And we are still looking for some teams. So if your company or your family or friend group or maybe your service club has not registered yet, we still do have some spots. And all of the funds from this event will go towards providing daily meals for our seniors. Now, we are so appreciative to Vital Spin Bar and Yoga Den in Grand Harbor. They are providing the facility all day. They are providing the instructors all day long. So every single dime that is donated will go directly to our seniors. We are looking for teams of 5. We even start the morning off with a kid-friendly Zumba session. So it's definitely not, oh, well, I'm not fit enough, so I can't do this. This is for everyone. We will have spinning classes, yoga classes, fitness classes, soca size, aerobics classes. So there is something for everyone throughout the day. So if you form a team of 5, you register online. There's a QR code on our website on the screen right now, a direct link from our social media pages as well. We're asking teams to set a goal of $2,500. Now, why? Because that is what it costs us to feed our seniors every single day. So it takes a lot of work for us to really raise just enough funds to feed our seniors. And then once you have your team formed, you start your fundraising. Each team member will choose at least an hour of classes, whether it's spinning or one of the other fitness classes. And you take turns throughout the day and you ride or you do fitness for 5 hours. The event goes from 9 till 2. However, we start registration and we'll do raffles and prizes and all that in the morning starting at 8 o'clock. And it's a fantastic and fun event. It's fun for the entire family. We've got great participant prizes. We've got great raffle prizes. And we look forward to seeing everyone there.
All right. So, folks, please mark your calendars for this upcoming event. It is June the 22nd, which is a Saturday. Not this weekend. Remember, this is Father's Day weekend, but the next weekend. So you've got plenty of time to get your little teams together and get registered to win. So registered to participate for sure, but potentially, win some little prizes and stuff as well. So tell us how people register. They just scan the QR code. That'll take them to the page and then they can fill out all the details.
Exactly. So the registration, it doesn't cost you anything to register. And the goal that we're setting is our goal. However, we know some teams are going to raise a whole lot more and some teams might not meet their goal. But the important part is, as you are trying to raise your funds, you are also talking about Meals on Wheels. You are telling people about our seniors. So the awareness that an event like this brings is also priceless. So the registration form, all you're going to do is you're going to give us your name, your phone number, the name of your team, and then afterwards we'll send you a follow-up email where then afterwards you would tell us who's on your team. We'll give you all the information of the schedule of the day so your team can choose what class each person is going to participate in. And we will try to highlight every company that comes on board. We'll have you connecting with our social media pages. We're there to support. So it's real simple. Just scan the QR code, log on to our social media pages or mealsonwheels.ky to register. And we look forward to having a full house all day long on June 22nd.
Awesome. Anything else that we need to know about? I know you also sent me a flyer in relation to this event. So these are some of the finer details. We'll post this up, and I'm sure you probably want to do a big shout out to your sponsors who have made this possible.
A huge thank you to Vital Spin Bar and Yoga Den, CG Brick K, the Ministry of Tourism and Ports, DART, Saxon, and Creative Concierge, and of course, Cayman Marl Road for your amazing support. These events can't be possible without sponsors, so thank you so much to everyone for coming on board and making this possible.
Wonderful. And we'll post some of this stuff, folks, on our social media pages as well, so that all of you can have easy access to it there. If you have Instagram or Facebook, just as a little reminder, sometimes we need little reminders about these events. So again, that's Miss Jennifer West joining us, the manager at the Meals on Wheels program. And do you need any chefs, any cooking volunteers by any chance?
Well, at this time, we don't, but we are looking forward to having our own building soon. So once we reach our goal for this Wheels for Meals event, any excess funds we are putting towards our capital campaign. Meals on Wheels does not have a home. For the last few years, we have been very nomadic. We were displaced from the venue that we had operated out of for 25 years. So we have 4 kitchens across the island. None of them belong to us. They're all borrowed facilities. Some are government civic centers. Others are makeshift kitchens. Our admin office is located at Trafalgar Place. So, of course, we're all over the place. And we are actively raising funds to build a kitchen. It'll house all of our storage, our pantry, a little mini room where we'll have seniors be able to come and have lunch with us. And we look forward to being able to open that kitchen up to the many chefs who call us. And we are looking forward to that day when we can say, hey, chefs, come take over the kitchen for a day. And the seniors know when somebody else has cooked as well. Because our old people, they know food. So when there's somebody else that has cooked for the day, they're like, who made this today? So we're looking forward to the option. But right now, unfortunately, because we don't have our own facility, we don't have a place where chefs can come in and cook. We do have chefs that will come and help serve and things like that, but not yet. Soon come.
Let me get that facility. Put me down as I can't do it all the time, but put me down as a guest chef.
All right. I love it.
Do my special mac and cheese for the seniors. Might have to cut back on the cheese though, but we'll work something out for him.
All right. Thank you. Put you at top of the list.
Yeah, CJW White says the government needs to take a page out of the Meals and Wheels book. Hats off to Meals and Wheels. Keep up the good work. This is Power of the People that Miss Sandy always talks about. May God continue to bless them and keep their food basket forever filled. Please give them a kaboom for their hard work and dedication. That being said, thank you, CMR, for being a great support for our community and keeping us well informed. And on that note, big kaboom. For the amazing Meals on Wheels program. Thank you so much, Miss Jennifer. Really appreciate all the hard work that you, your team, and of course the slew of volunteers and sponsors do all the time to make this program such a success.
Thank you so much for your support and for having us on today.
All right, absolutely wonderful. So folks, dig into your little pockets now, honey child. I will be doing a donation of my own when I saw that, listen, $150 a month. I can afford that. So you're going to be hearing from me, Jennifer. I'm going to go on the pledgeasenior.com website. $150 a month. Some of y'all spend that for lunch, going out with your friends, or just drinks. You don't even fill your belly with food. You spend that on drinks alone. So let's step up to the plate and help these amazing organizations who are helping, seniors in our community, because so many of them undoubtedly rely on the Meals and Bills program for a hot meal and at least a cup of soup. So that's wonderful. And I will definitely call you about the mango tree, because, those poor mangoes are going to go to waste. And nothing worse than wasting food. I tell you the truth. My aunt always said, waste not, want not. So you find somebody else who needs it. All right, wonderful. We're waiting on our next guest to come onto the program. Let me see here. Okay. So while we're waiting on Mr. Panton to arrive, let's just see if there's anything else that we needed to touch on. So of course, the Russian warships are headed to Cuba. And some cruisers were passing by. These are nuclear-powered submarine armed with modern caliber cruise missiles. Lord Jesus, what a mess. Heading to Cuba and show of force, really, by Russia. So this is a situation that is being looked at very, very carefully by the U.S. for sure. And I think that they're going to be increasing patrols in our little area now. So y'all got to be careful out there. Y'all talking about you want to go to Cuba. Maybe this isn't the time to be too close to Cuba in any event. So cruise ship passengers actually snapped pictures of the Russian warship that is headed for Cuba for an official visit. And some of those pictures are now circulating and actually online. So this is a little bit unnerving. I'm going to be honest with you. Not the kind of story that I really wanted to hear this morning. But we'll certainly keep an eye on it for you. Wow. Okay. There you go. Unsettling to say the least. Okay. All right. Someone says, why was the Meals on Wheels program displaced from the Teacher McPhail Community Center? Oh, don't know. I'll see if I can get an answer for you. Not sure. Let's see. I'll send that question along to someone who might be able to get it answered, and I'll let you know. Okay. Let me see here now. All right. Okay. Why are they going to Cuba though, says Gabby? Well, apparently they have said that, I think they're pissed off at the U.S., their position with Ukraine, as well as what's happening in the Middle East as well, with Israel and Palestine and that whole hot mess. So basically, they're conducting what they say is Atlantic drills en route to Cuba with some new hypersonic equipment. And as a result of that, a U.S. Navy ship is shadowing the Russian flotilla off of the Florida coast. So this is according to satellite data that has been collected. So they're all playing a bit of a game with our security and lives here. But so the U.S. naval and air assets appear to be shadowing the Russian warship that passed Florida's eastern coast on their way to make port in Cuba. This is what open source maritime and aerial tracking data has revealed. Open source intelligence analysts on Tuesday posted updates showing the CG Stone Coast Guard vessel, the USS Truxton and the USS Donald Cook destroyers, and the Royal Canadian Navy frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec traveling southwards down the Florida coast, purportedly following the Russian ships as they head to Cuba. Above them, at least one Navy P-8A Poseidon and Canadian CP-140 Aurora appeared to be conducting surveillance. What a hot mess. Thank God for things like flight radar, because even flight radar is picking them up now as well. So a screen grab taken from Flight Radar 24 early on Tuesday morning shows that the flight paths of the U.S. Navy Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft reportedly tracking the progress of Russia's flotilla bound for Cuba on June the 11th. So that was yesterday. Lord Jesus, what a mess. So I guess everybody in social media is watching it. They're tracking it with, apps and stuff that are available pretty much to all of us these days. So basically, it was reported last week that heightened naval and air traffic near the United States is going to be happening this summer because Russia has said they are doing naval exercises this fall. And they say that Russia will temporarily send combat naval vessels to the Caribbean region, and those ships will likely conduct port calls in Cuba and possibly Venezuela. Y'all see why Cuba's on that terrorist list now. So yeah, what a mess. They said that there might be some aircraft deployments or flights in the region, and Russia's deployments as part of routine naval activity and are not, they say that we're not concerned by Russia's deployments, which pose no direct threat to the United States. So this is what the officials have said. So still a bit unnerving though, because Russia, they don't exactly play by rules. So Russia's 4-ship grouping visiting Cuba is made up of, all these Russian names, I can't tell you. Gorshkov frigate, the nuclear power submarine, Kazan, the fleet oil tanker, Pashin, and the rescue tug, Nikolay Shiker. Who knows? According to the foreign ministry in Havana. A report by the Russian state-owned RIA Novosti news agency on Tuesday cited the commander-in-chief of Russia's naval forces as saying that the flotilla would arrive in Cuba on Wednesday. Somebody's like, no, sir, them names. Worst pronunciation ever. Anybody who speaks Russian that's listening right now, forgive me. They said the visit has been interpreted as part of Moscow's response to deeper NATO commitments in Ukraine, particularly the White House approval for Ukraine forces to use American weapons within Russian borders. Though the Pentagon has said that the visit poses no immediate threat. They said that Russia is likely to send combat naval vessels to the Caribbean with potential protocols in Cuba and possibly Venezuela. This was according to a Pentagon spokesperson. And they said aircraft deployments or flights in the region are also anticipated. And these deployments are part of Russia's routine naval operations and pose no direct threat to the United States. They said they're not necessarily unusual. They had some take place between 2013 and 2020, and such operations impose a significant cost on the Russian Navy, which faces challenges in maintaining readiness and conducting deployments with an aging fleet. All right. What a mess. We'll keep y'all posted, honey chill. Okay. So I think he's not happy with NATO either. Ay. Hello, Gabby. Damien says because U.S. is supplying NATO with missiles. Yep, we just read that. Dean, good morning to you. Jared, having a good laugh. We're waiting on Mr. Banton this morning. Let's see. This person says, naval drills, you watch me, I watch you, laughing out loud. School of red shank crabs. They still here, just tucked away. Oh, let's see what that is. Okay, then sharks. When I read that just now, my eyes saw sharks. I'm like, what? Sharks, red shanks crab. Okay. All right. Okay. Waiting patiently, not so patiently. All right. So let me see what else is going on around the world. Honey child. Okay, let's talk about the Cuban situation a little bit while we're waiting on our guests to arrive. So this was quite interesting. Well, I all I can tell you is you got to follow the laws no matter what. The laws are there for a reason. So 2 Cuban men, and remember, some were sentenced last couple months ago. They were sentenced to, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what their sentence was. But anyway, they got in trouble for absconding from the detention center. I was there in court that day, and there was a number of them in that case. A lot of them just climb over the fence and just leave. You can't do that. You know, there are rules in place to protect the people of this country, and I don't advocate that if you're in the detention center that you can just be walking around at free will. The ones that you see walking around should only be the ones who are staying like at the Boddentown Civic Center, and they're not at the detention center. That's a very different situation. So I'm still trying to arrange. I did a follow-up email yesterday to the ministry representative so we can get that CBC interview done so that we can understand the flow of how you come in as a migrant and where you go and how things work. But it's fair to say that when you're at the detention center, the very name alone, detention, means that you can't go nowhere. Okay. So you got to stay put. It's not technically a prison, but kind of, yes. So you don't have free movement. You can't just jump up and be like, oh, you know, Punta Latina is going to have a party this weekend. Vámonos. Let's go party. We're going to be doing the salsa into the night. No, honey child. You can't do that. You have to stay there, and they will feed you and give you some bare necessities, and that's it. So when you leave the detention center, it is actually an offense under the laws of the Cayman Islands. And in fact, leaving lawful custody is to be considered a very serious offense. So these 2 men will now spend time in the jail for 9 months, which probably means, 60% of 9 months? Y'all do the math. That's what they'll serve. And escaping lawful custody. And then they're also going to be deported after serving their time. So Adrian Vargas Hernandez and Vladimir, I wonder if his parents were like fans of the Russians back in the day. Vladimir Fuentes Milanes, who arrived in Cayman only a month ago, both pleaded guilty, explaining that they had left the facility in search of work to send money back home to their families in Cuba. So to be clear, honey child, you can't do that. In fact, even when you're at the Boddentown Civic Center, none of the Cuban migrants are supposed to be permitted to work. No, honey child, that's not how that works. No bueno. Caramba. What the heck? You can't do that. So anyway, yes, they got in trouble. They said that they were hot in the facility and they just walked out the front gate, which was reported. Excuse me. How can y'all just walk out the front gate? Now, you do know that this leads some questions about who is securing the facility there. I mean, for God's sake, which security company is this that just allows people to walk out the front gate? They'd be like, sayonara, we'll be back in a couple days. We're going to go find a job. No, you can't do that. Anyway, the two men left the facility after 3 p.m. on June the 6th. CBC officers were alerted around 7:44 p.m. the same day that the men were seen in Agnes Way. Say what now? 3 p.m. I'm guessing they know that because there are cameras, or did the security guard stand there and say, oh, they're walking out at 3 p.m. We'll see you guys a little bit later on. They didn't get far. Agnes Way, where were they all that time? Anyway, the officers got there. One of the men was arrested. The other one was seen leaving in a blue car, and he was later arrested in Red Bay. Now, you see, this is why, folks, you can't be picking people up anymore, because you might be taking a chance yourself with picking up someone unbeknownst to you who's a detainee. My gosh. I don't know whose blue car that was. The court then heard that the men were desperate to get work and to support their families. And again, you can't do it that way. That's not how it works. In fact, what they need to understand is they could be here for years without any lawful and meaningful employment, relying on $160 a month to buy everything that you need from the grocery store, which, to be honest, ain't really a whole lot. Mr. Hernandez said he has 2 kids in Cuba and they have problems even getting food. He has a bachelor's degree and worked in education. He left the communist nation by boat because of desperation. He told the court that he was applying for political asylum. Not anymore, honey child. Now you can get deported. The chief magistrate pointed out that their freedom was curtailed when they arrived in the Cayman Islands illegally, and it did not give them the right to look for jobs. She said, when you are in custody, it means that you have no freedom to go out and about, and this happens way too often. I cannot understand why it is a belief that they can just go walk about. All right. She described their actions as a blatant breach and said that there's nothing that excuses their behavior. Magistrate Hernandez said the maximum penalty for escaping lawful custody is 4 years. However, she considered a reduction for their early guilty pleas and sentenced them to 9 months in prison, and also made a deportation order. She also called for an investigation into the blue car. You see? So this is someone now who might have been in contact with them and was arranged to pick them up. And it said that, the blue car assisted one of the men in leaving when the CBC officers went to Agnes Way. So if you drive a blue car today and you were on Agnes Way on that date and you picked up a Cuban migrant who was supposed to be at a detention center, you might now be looking at being charged yourself with something. So I don't know what to tell y'all, but this is why you don't get involved in a hot mess like this when it comes to breaking the laws. Probably taking them to a construction site. What a hot mess. Somebody says Justice Hernandez. Well, she's not Justice. She's Chief Magistrate. Hernandez is not playing. Hold on. Let me read this message. Not playing. Thank God she's doing what the government has failed to do. Well, the laws are there for the courts to obviously enforce. All right. Thank you. Damien says, is there a police station across from Barnes Laundry? That is the traffic division. But yes, police officers are oftentimes there. Jeffrey says, why are they reporting? What? Why are they reporting my comments? Who? Good morning. Hi. I'm right in the middle of my show. That's how I'm doing. Yes. Okay. All right. No worries. All right, my dear. Okay. Okay. No worries. All right. Catherine says, yes, many Cubans have Russian ancestry, hence why some of their names are Russian. Cuba is an ally of Russia and former Soviet Union. Yes, that we do know. Jeffrey says they're all working and fishing also. All All right, let's move on, folks. We do have former Premier Panton, now joining the program, a representative for the beautiful district of Newlands. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, first of all, Sandra, and good morning to everybody who is listening. I am okay. I'm thankful that we've gotten past this very significant rain event that we've just had. And we've had a lot of people that have been impacted negatively, but thankfully for Newlands, it was more about roads being flooded and that sort of thing. And it had a lot of the water has drained off fairly quickly. But I want to thank everybody that, including the NRA and other agencies that have been involved in making sure that the people are safe, and that the impacts were minimized as much as possible. And certainly those members of our community who have spent time out checking on people and helping and making sure that they're okay. Sandra, this is an indication of the kinds of challenges that we're going to be facing in the context of a changing climate, which has been induced by our own activities. We're getting less rain. The problem is when we get rain, it is a deluge. So, this is just one of the challenges, and of course, we're all concerned about the prospect of more frequent and stronger hurricanes and this type of thing. So there's much more for us to be concerned about. But it's a pleasure to be here with you as usual.
Yes, thank you so much.
To talk to the rest of the people in the country. Those I know many are overseas listening as well. So you're always doing a great job, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much. And just a quick reminder, Patricia asking about the YouTube link. So just a reminder that we're actually on our backup YouTube channel. So I will post that here, and we have been posting it on social as well to let people know exactly where to find us on YouTube, because I know a lot of you enjoy listening to us on YouTube, which gives you a little bit more flexibility than Facebook. Okay. Somebody says, early comment this morning, somebody says, what you talking about, former girl? We know he's still our premier. Kaboom. Oh my goodness. Oh, you guys going to get put in a naughty corner today. All right, folks, let's go ahead and jump right into the conversation. We want to talk about, and this is really a lot of today's segment will be about educating the general public about the National Conservation Act. We have some historical information that we're going to pull up. But this legislation, the people who are saying, Mr. Panton, that this legislation is under attack, and unfairly so, is what one side of the coin is saying, and that there's going to be some proposed major changes to the National Conservation Act that seek to undermine the entire legislation. And we know that you were actually extremely pivotal in bringing this legislation to fruition. So let's take a step back, if we can, and talk about how the legislation came about, what your role was, and do you remember back in, I think it was 2013, when the legislation was finally passed, what was the feeling and the pulse of the day from the legislators and perhaps even from the community?
Yeah, that's right, Sandra. And I noticed that you inadvertently had a typo on the title. You had the National Conservation Act.
Oh, it should be a conversation that we're having.
It's funny in that that was how some of us referred to it back in the in 20 the 2012, 2011, 2013 time frame, because the bill and the need for the law had been discussed for probably closer to, well, in excess of 10 years, let's put it that way.
Wow.
So there was a joke that it was, it had become the National Conservation Bill rather than the National Conservation Bill. So the genesis of all of this is really, goes back to, I guess the starting point would have been the 2001 the 2001 Environmental Charter that had been signed by none other than Makiba Bush when he was premier. He was a leader of government business back in 2001, and that listed a number of things that we needed to have in place, and it was a foundation for, and it was not just signed by Cayman, it was signed by all of the OTs, all of the British Overseas Territories. So that was a foundation for it. Then we also had the 2009 Constitution, which was adopted by, as you may recall, by referendum. I think it was about 63% of the voting population voted for the new Constitution with the Bill of Rights, which came into effect a little bit later. But that has a provision in it called Section 18 as well, which basically says that that we as a country should have environmental legislation which helps to build and implement sustainability in the country and to balance the interests between the environment, the economy, and the needs of society. So if you go back that far, you see that has always been this contemplation of having a balance, having the approach being taken which ensures that all of these things are taken into account. And historically what we have done is we've taken into account the economy. We've to some extent taken into account society and the needs of society. But what we weren't doing was taking into account environmental issues and the importance of getting those right. And it's not just it's not just an issue that is of academic importance or discussion. This is stuff that relates to our ability to recognize our own country, to feel like that we're living in a country that recognizes our culture and our environment and who we were and who we are, and it all of that greatly impacts our quality of life. So the progressives, of which I was an integral part in the run-up to the 2013 election, we prepared a manifesto which set out all the various priority items that the progressives were proposing to be dealing with. And one of those, very specifically, was one of those items, very prominently, I should say, in the manifesto, was doing the national conservation, getting the national conservation bill through so that it became the national conservation law. And of course, subsequent to the change from legislative assembly to parliament, it became national, like all other legislation, became the National Conservation Act. But the details around that reflect a Herculean effort to take the bill, which had been kicked around for the better part of 10 years, and to try to do public consultation on that bill to understand where there may be concerns, and to try to end up with a piece of legislation which more closely reflected the desires and the various competing interests in our society. And that, I will tell you that I think that piece of legislation has probably had more public consultation on it than any other piece of legislation that I can recall in our history. I know that I went to every single island with the entire team from the Department of Environment and others, and In fact, and I went to every single district within our island, within Grand Cayman in particular. And in some cases, I went to some districts twice. So it was a very, very thorough public consultation. And as I said, it was a very prominent and significant part of the PPM, the Progressives agenda at the time. It was a very significant priority. So having done all of that work, we moved forward very quickly. And that was done over a period of months. But we moved forward very quickly with that to get that done. And in fact, in December of 2013, that piece of legislation was brought to Parliament, or at the time it was the Legislative Assembly. I spent 2 hours on my feet presenting the bill, presenting all the details around it, addressing some of the preliminary concerns. Now, I will tell you that there was a very, very concerted effort from members in the planning community and in the developer community to try to derail this. There was, they had the assistance of the then editor of the Compass, I believe, who, put out a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and not unlike what we have today in not just in Cayman, but in other countries. There's so much around the world, really. There's so much disinformation being spread around and misinformation to alarm and confuse voters that voters have to be very, very careful about how they absorb some of this, and those that are concerned about making sure that the truth is known have to work very hard to address some of these deliberate attempts to distort the truth. But that a lot of that was going on at that time as well. But we had a committed government that was seeing this through, and notwithstanding that, and as a demonstration of how much time we spent in listening to people and listening to those on the other side. During the committee stage on the bill, I brought, I think it was 33 amendments, and I think the opposition brought 1 or 2 amendments and to amend the bill that had been presented. And that reflects, a very significant desire to compromise, to make sure that everybody got something that they were, that they were concerned about addressed. We ended up with on the third reading, we had every single member of Parliament, or Legislative Assembly as it was at the time, voting in favor of that bill. Nobody voted against it. And now that, it's just an irony that we still have many of the same people who, and some of them are involved in an attempt now to try to undermine and gut this legislation, not because of any evidence of any issues, but purely because of the agenda, the same old agendas that existed back then. And as I predicted back then, there was no evidence supporting the arguments being made. And today we have the same issue. We do not have the evidence supporting it. In fact, the evidence points in the other direction. Our people here are concerned about so many things. They're concerned about cost of living. They're concerned about population growth. They're concerned about traffic and basically major impacts on their quality of life. And the argument seems to be from certain segments of the developer world in Cayman that somehow the National Conservation Act and the National Conservation Council, which is a council which is given certain mandates to consider impacts on the environment
Mhm.
has restricted or limited development. I mean, it is such an absurd allegation that it just defies belief. I mean, our people can look around every day and they feel it every day, and they're thinking, you know, what is this about? Where does this come from? But there hasn't been any public discussion from government about it. There hasn't been any explanation, but and I haven't seen anything. No bill has been published, but I know. I mean, this is unfortunately this is what I would regard as a corrupt initiative, which had its genesis around the time of the movements against me to try to remove me as premier late last year. So that was, you know, that was the underlying factors in relation to that. It is very unfortunate that, you know, we have this sort of thing going on, which is against the interests of our people. And people, our voters and our people in our country they're not stupid. They're not blind. They understand that there are cause and effects. They understand that, you know, we can't just go ahead and do the types of things that we've been doing all along in the same ways we've been doing it all along, and get a better result and get something other than what reflects their concerns right now. So we had complete support for this, and it took several years to implement the law. Different aspects of the law were brought into force at different points to try to ensure that administratively we could build the capacity and make sure it was working properly. And you know, the facts around the performance of the law and the National Conservation Council indicate very clearly that the kinds of misrepresentations that are being made are grossly, not just misrepresentations, but they're gross misrepresentations. They're grossly inaccurate. And this is just a reflection of a cabal of developers who want their way and who want to, you know, who want their revenge, who want their way, who want to achieve something that they didn't achieve before, and they make these wild allegations, and unfortunately, and this is one of the things that you know bothers me the most, is they personalize it by going after a Caymanian woman who is a part of this process. She's not the process. She's a part of this process. She's very educated. She's very intelligent. She cares very, very deeply. She's very fair. And she always brings an approach of trying to balance interest. And I'm talking about Gina Ebanks Petrie, a strong Caymanian woman who is maligned on a daily basis by this group, this cabal, and some of the politicians. You know, it really astounds me that in this day and age we can have people who attack our own in this kind of way, and it's done deliberately. It's done with malintent, because they're trying to personalize it. They're trying to put it on one person so that they can focus all of their energy and all of their vitriol at one particular person. And that is grossly unfair and is completely inaccurate.
Well, let's talk about in a minute here some of the inaccuracies.
We'll get into the details of it. But
yes, but let me just show this. Somebody shared this, and this is a screenshot from a document here that we have, which is the Progressives 2013 Manifesto. Someone said, Sandy, they did this whole thing towards a better tomorrow, getting back on course was what they're running with, for love of country. So this is their 2013 manifesto. And on page 20 of this document, they actually have listed here about the environment, and specifically about this national conservation law. And they say that conservation and development cannot be viewed as conflicting goals. It is imperative that they must coexist, and as that is exactly what sustainable development is all about. And they promise that we will therefore, the first thing on the list, pass a national conservation law and pursue waste management. They go on to list a number of different things. So the passage of this national conservation law, you say now, and Hansard will certainly support it, had complete support of all members of parliament. So what do you think happened in the past 10 years between 2013 now and we're in 2024? Why some of those exact same members of parliament have changed their position?
I'm going to be very frank.
Mm-hmm.
For many members and aspiring members of parliament, the source of funding to participate in elections and to be relevant in their communities and their constituencies come from some of these people, some of the developers. It's nothing new. It happens all over the world. People are always trying to influence politicians and to get their to get their support. And this is a big part of the problem. So it continues every election cycle, every year practically. We have these types of things that go on, and so this is just another round, another attempt. The idea was to get me out of the way, so that they thought that, well, this is going to weaken the NCA and GINA, and we're going to have to. We'll have our ability to just go at it and do what we want to do. I don't understand. These people live in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe there are a number of foreign developers, but for the Caymanian ones, for sure, they live in our communities. They are part of our country. They have children. Maybe they have grandchildren, or they're going to have grandchildren. I don't know how they believe that. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it is true that money creates a perception that they ought to have privilege, and that somehow that's going to give them an edge in life, and to be able to avoid the consequences, negative consequences of doing things out of balance. But I still can't understand how they think it's really going to work. Mm-hmm. Do they really think that they have the right to prosper today at the expense of the quality of life and the opportunity for the Caymanian children of tomorrow to have their own prosperity, to have their own country that they can enjoy, and that they can recognize as a part of this thread of life and history that represents our beautiful Cayman Islands? Do they think that somehow this is going to absolve them of responsibility, and allow them to to just go ahead and make tons of money? A lot of these people already have money. They have lots of money, but they just seem to be, it's an obsession. It's an obsession to feel like they're in control. It's an obsession to control politicians. It's an obsession to to be able to do whatever they want. They're happy to deal with the planning requirements, but they do not want anybody saying to them, you should consider this approach to minimize or mitigate the impact on the environment. And it is a shame, it's a disgrace that this sort of perspective in today's circumstances exist. And I'm talking in particular about the impacts of climate change that we can see all around us. It's going on all around the world, and it is impacting us every day. We have had, over the last 12 months or more, we have had every month record increases in temperature.
Mm-hmm.
My utility bill for last month went up to $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how some people are managing.
Mm.
I just can't. I know the difficulties people are having because they come to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And to just ignore this and pretend that this isn't an existential risk, not just to the Cayman Islands, but to everybody around the world, is just crazy. And to continue to want to clear land, remove mangroves left, right, and center without any consideration is just astonishing. It's astonishing to me that people can still have that kind of mentality and that kind of mindset. And this this piece of legislation, the National Conservation Act, it doesn't stop any development. It tries to influence how it's done to sort of mitigate those impacts. And if it has an impact, a negative impact on a protected area, it will stop that, because they can say there's no way for us to mitigate that impact, so you shouldn't do that. And this is where we're also having this this conflict, because in the very, very tiny percentage of applications that a directive not to approve has been given, it's like the end of the world. Every day, Sandra, in this country, we have people proposing to do all sorts of things. Sometimes I think Cayman acts like it's Hollywood or something, or it wants to be Dubai, and they want to do all these incredible projects and all this stuff. Some of it is fine, some of it works, but some of it has major implications for quality of life, for traffic, for possibly even cost of living, all the things, and population growth and work permit numbers and all. Everybody is concerned about so many of these things, and trying to make sure that we don't have policies that cause it to run away, as it has been doing. Why shouldn't we have legislation which requires consideration of these kinds of impacts? Consideration of, how mangroves help to dissipate wave energy, how mangroves contribute significantly to the value of our ecosystem, how they do an amazing job with storing carbon, absorbing carbon dioxide and storing it. How all of that should be irrelevant, I just don't understand. And the impacts of it are being felt by our people, and it's only going to get worse. The more we ignore it, the worse it gets. On the point of why development is not being impacted or reduced significantly, you only you only have to believe your eyes. Drive around, look around. I can go from Northwest Point to South Sound, and I can find 9 cranes along there working on major projects. I can find in between those significant projects going on that don't require cranes. And my point is not that development shouldn't exist at all. My point is, don't tell me that there's a problem with this law, which is stopping development, when we can see how much development is going on. We can see the impact of it.
We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
That's Mr. Patton?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so those that are listening might want to know my name. My name is Armand Morgan Ebanks from West Bay, an indigenous Caymanian. What I saying is actually my opinion, which I am entitled to. Mr. Patton.
Yes, sir.
Sandra,
yes, sir.
We have a host of people that want to hit the street with all of this rubbish that's going on. We need and we want to show, and we're going ahead with it. I don't know if Mr. Patton's going to be there, but you know what they're saying about us? We all talk. We all talk. Okay? When you have people from South Africa, developers, when we had a meeting a couple of years ago, you know, he said to us, what you guys are talking about is a done deal. I'm a multi-millionaire. I'm from South Africa. I will get through with what I want to get through. He knew what he was talking about because he probably had paid all of the desirables to have cash out hand. That's my opinion. That's what's happening. And now, what's going on? Listen, the game should be over, Mr. Patton. People like you need to come out with us and have a showdown and show all of these nasty ass politicians that they must be only looking for the money. The quality of life is so diminished, right? These people dressed up to the 99s with the big ties and all that. All they know is money. The quality of life is so diminished. It's unbelievable. Like you talk about all the good land is being cleared and all you can see is construction going up. You think these people that is coming in here to do the development, these hungry belly people, you think they care? They're laughing at us to scorn. And they're laughing also at the government that has really no moral, no principle to see what's really happening in this country. Hopefully, in short order, there'll be some notices coming out about what our intentions are.
Okay.
And these people do nothing. They're so, I don't know, they're not embarrassed because they don't have no shame, but they're hiding behind the corner. They don't even have a public meeting, which, you know, election is probably like 10 months away. We need to really clean everything that you see up inside of there. As a representative, we need to clean the whole slip. Why don't they come and try to debate with me? I want to show how really unscrupulous some of those people are, right? Those that say, well, boy, we can look, what you open your mouth and let people know where you're standing, stand your ground. Okay? It is really, really more than disgusting, annoying, and vexing what's going on in this island. None of them has any intention of doing anything except what you see going on here now. Okay? I don't know, but sometimes I just feel like, you know, calling it a day and leaving this country. But I'm a fighter like everybody else. And let's see what happens, Mr. Patton. We're expecting you to stand with us. Thank you so much for listening to me, and have a good day.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Ebanks, thank you so much. Let's read a few comments that have been coming in. Damien says, thank you, Mr. Panton. A lot of propaganda and witch hunts. Strong Wilt says, hi, Mr. Panton. Are you going to be running again next year? We want you back. Cassius says, what are the proposed changes? To speak of these changes in absence of the facts, it's a bit irresponsible to create hysteria. There's no such thing as perfect legislation, this act included. Solil says, very frustrating to see the government plan around their personal interests that can line pockets instead of what's good for the island and its people long term. Faded Mary Jane says, air all the dirty laundry I have Febreze. Damien says, when you have merchants wealthier than the government, this will always happen. Denver, good morning. Denver says, we should be glad that we have Gina, a strong Canadian woman in that position. She stands up for the country. Salil says, thank you, period, Mr. Panton, full stop. Mark says, getting their pockets lined. Damien says, wait till the next Cat 5 storm, then we'll all see. That'll make them think. Amani says, no care attitude alone should be more than enough for us, the people, to vote them out. Disgusting pigs. Gabby says, yep, because they can always pack up and leave if they need to. Where are Caymanians going to go? Shaking my head. Damien says, look at 7 Mile Beach corrosion. It kills the entire ecosystem and also detracts from our tourism. Who are we building Cayman for? Not the animals and not for us. Cassius says, Panton is right on one thing. Development is still continuing in West Bay Road. Mangroves be damned, but the eastern districts can't get a road, which he and Gina doesn't want. Cayman won't stop change. So let's address this, because this is, he goes on to say, what about the eastern districts getting the road? So, I mean, as clearly as you can, what is your position on the extension of the east?
Thanks, Sandra, and I am happy you brought that up. I am part of the eastern districts.
Mm-hmm.
I am the representative for Newlands. We used to have under the multi-member construct, we used to have one Bodden Town district, which stretched from Spots Newlands Road in the lower part, the western part of Savannah, all the way up to Frankstown Road. And I was a representative for that entire area as well when I was first elected. So I care very much about the concerns around the problems and the fact that there's only one lane that goes east, one single lane that goes east past Savannah to serve the eastern districts, Bodden Town, East End, North. Not when I say Bodden Town, I mean the town of Bodden Town and everything in between Savannah going east. But I haven't stopped any of that. Gina Ebanks has not stopped any of that. What has been required for 10 years now is that they do an environmental impact assessment. And government after government failed to do it, even though I certainly was pushing for it during the progressive government of 13 to 17. I was pushing to have that done. I was telling them, the relevant minister, you need to have an environmental impact assessment done because the road is going along the edge of the central mangrove wetland. You can't get any more environmentally sensitive than that for us. And you need to be able to do this. But administration after administration and you know, the certain members of the planning ministry, members of the NRA, and I'm not blaming everybody, because there are some who want to try to do the right thing, but they're told no, and it's being overridden by others, including people who are, who are supposed to be consultants to the NRA. And when I say consultants, there are those who are formal consultants, there are official consultants, there's those who are unofficial. And you've put it up before, Sandra, I think. The evidence is clear that there has been a deliberate attempt to prevent getting this road done properly.
Mm-hmm.
All these years. We had one minister talking about, in the past, talking about giving people 1 more hour of sleep. Well, that particular minister had 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
4 years to go ahead and do, could have done 2, maybe 2.5, maybe even 3 environmental impact assessments during that period of time. So today we would have a properly designed and built road that meets the needs of our people going east. But we don't because of nonsense. We don't because of incompetence. We don't because of failures in the system, failures of people to follow the right process, do the right thing. These things, environmental impact assessments are not things that are made up in Cayman. They're not. This is not Gina's idea. It's not my idea. It's not somebody else's, some bureaucrat sitting in a corner's idea. These are worldwide adopted methodologies to get the best results for the decisions we have to make.
We do have a caller who's
and the reason we are making progress on this now is because I have been pounding the table as mayor from 2001. We are at the point where I think they're close to finalizing that, but and there are a number of things that they have done along the way, which there was a study that was being done called the hydraulics and hydrology study. I don't want to get into all the technical stuff, but people need to understand some of it. The study was being done. It should have been a part specifically of the environmental impact assessment being done by the consultant that was hired by the NRA to do this. But in their wisdom, they left it out. They said they were going to deal with it separately with a different consultant. And I was told more than a year ago that study was complete, and they were just waiting to get the copy of it. Every time I pushed to have meetings about this, every 2 months we're being told, yeah, it's imminent. And then halfway through you find out that there's an admission that actually it's not going to be ready. It's going to be so. The last time frame that I heard was that it was going to be completed in November, and it was being documented, and it was going to be presented in December. Well, I know it didn't happen that way. My understanding is that some draft was made available in March, I believe. I don't have these details readily available to me anymore, but that is my understanding. And there's some problem with it. It wasn't, it was done on the basis of, well, we don't know exactly where you're going to put the road, so we can't give you specifics in relation to this study in terms of predicting where you need to put in, the necessary culverts and where you need to make sure that you avoid doing things which will flood existing neighborhoods in the back of Bordentown. And I'm talking about Northward. I'm talking about Lookout. Lookout. I'm looking at an email, but the Lookout area. We know that the Belford area has had flooding problems from day one. It was a poorly designed development put in a very low-lying area that has been problematic. I have spent days, weeks in that area at periods when we have had tremendous flooding and helping people and talking to them and trying to find ways. And, I thought it was hilarious. At one point, there was a government that put in drains before my time. They put in drains. They put the drains in the middle of the road, at the crown of the road, right at the top. Now you would think that doesn't seem logical. I understand. I know why they were doing it, because the area is so low that they were trying to get the drain high enough that it would actually work. Because if they put the drain down on the other areas on the side of the road where it normally goes, there wouldn't be enough what they call head for the water to actually, for the drain to function, for the water to drain away. So if you know the drain isn't going to work properly, then you have to find some other way of doing it. And that's, instead of doing that, they just default to the usual thing of, we're just going to put in deep wells. Well, deep wells don't work for the majority of this country. Deep wells don't work for the majority of our low-lying residential areas. A deep well will work for 15 of rain, and then after that, it's overwhelmed, and it takes another 2 days for the rain to drain off.
Wow. We do have 2 callers on the line. Let's go to those callers. Oh, looks like only one hung in there. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you today?
Good morning. Not bad. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Panton. I'm glad to see you.
Good morning, sir.
Bring yourself forward to discuss this. This is Jonathan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Panton, I'd just like to start by saying to you that I took note when you put it out there in your position as premier that although you did see, and I agree with you, the need for an environmental impact assessment, but not only that, but you just agreed with the need for us to have an alternate road to and from the eastern districts, and that comes from simple common sense. I also observed that those of the ecological activist side started slamming you on CNS, so on and so forth, lambasting you for taking that position. Okay. So there definitively, Mr. Panton, is a sector of our population, whether they are a part of the electorate or not, that doesn't matter. There is a sector of our population who largely coming from, well, I can't even say that, but there is a level of hypocrisy within the lobby, Mr. Panton, who are so dead set against the road in any format. And they will not say that out loud, but that has been proven their purpose. And it was evidence to me when they were willing to lambast you for trying to find that balance in your approach to the issue. Okay. Now, that doesn't by any stretch of the imagination, Mr. Panton, or Cayman at large, nullify these environmental concerns that we have here in Cayman, which need to be mitigated at every step of the way. But it needs to be done properly, Mr. Panton. Now, I actually attended, and I don't think you were there, at the Northside meeting in 2023 on the 7th of February, where, the NRA and the ladies who were going to do the environmental impact assessment spoke to the group. On the left-hand side were a lot of your political contemporaries, past and present. And then on the right side, there seemed to be most of the people who were against the idea. Me, I stand on neither extreme. But on the 7th of February 2023, Mr. Panton, there was mention made, and I spoke specifically to one of the young ladies of the company who was doing the firm that's doing the East-West Ontario, and this is going to be a year. Now, I just heard you broach that subject. These things need to be done in a timely manner because people's lives are constantly being negatively affected by this not being implemented. Me, as somebody who can see the need for responsible and sustainable ecological considerations to be made, has to now look at the reality that past a year has passed since that the environmental impact assessment was supposed to have been completed. Right? So
actually, no, that timing isn't right.
And I heard them. I overheard them planning your demise politically at that meeting. Okay, I heard them planning your demise. Okay, but I think that in order for us to move forward in a positive way, Mr. Panton, we have to figure out how we're going to get these things done and mitigate, because at this point we have two extremes: the greed of the developer class and the pomposity of another group of people, and all of the people with common sense and an understanding of ecological sustainability, but also the necessity for not only the quality of life, but just, you could even talk about ambulances. You could talk about emergency services. You could talk about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. But Jonathan,
demand that this is implemented, but
Jonathan, I think that I don't think we have any disagreement, and as you pointed out, I have supported this road. I think it is necessary, but what is also necessary is that we do it in the best possible way based on the best information that could be available to us. And this is why the environmental impact assessment has been so essential. But parties and governments and political groupings and others have been interfering with the proper process, have been telling the NRA staff, don't do this, don't do that, ignore this, ignore that. You know, this nonsense that we need to, which frankly comes from elements within government, within the civil service, as well as within the political side, that we should be asking for forgiveness instead of permission to do things the right way, that we should just continue to do things that we've done all along, that has caused a lot of issues for us. Building roads in environmentally sensitive areas are very serious things that should be given the opportunity to be subject to a proper process, that we end up with the right result, that we don't end up having impacts after the road is built that completely swamps, floods areas. I mean, you will have heard that that the Central Planning Authority has made numerous statements fairly recently that they're not responsible for, just as an example, they're not responsible for stormwater management. Well, who is? If they shouldn't be taking things like that into account when they're approving developments left, right, and center, when they require land to be filled up, and as land is filled up, those people who used to be, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, used to have dry yards, suddenly are now at the bottom of the bowl and they're flooding. What's wrong with the system?
Department syndrome.
It's the same thing applies to
Jonathan.
To building roads and this sort of thing.
We do have another caller, several callers actually online. So just leave us there with those comments.
We agree, Jonathan. We agree that the road needs to be built, but the environmental impact assessment, it is not a year overdue. The environmental impact assessment was being held up because effectively there was pressure being put on the NRA not to get it done within time. And I'm not talking just about this government. I'm talking about previous governments, previous people who have been influential on this process. It is ridiculous. Thank you. You've just put up the chronology of events, Sandra. This is
I've got that here. We can have a quick look at it. Jonathan, final comment. We do have some other callers.
I understand that very well. Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Yes, sir. Listen, Mr. Ponton, also this morning, we have a road accident which holds up the entire population on the eastern quadrant of this island. The police, for some reason, they have this thing where they keep the car in the middle of the road. I know there are some reasons for it, but there has to be a better way forward to deal with these situations.
Well, I hope it doesn't involve a fatality.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't look like it.
I don't think it does, Mr. Ponton, but it's a common occurrence.
Yeah, but fatalities are usually the reason why they end up having to to hold up the road and
Jonathan, I can give you 30 seconds to wrap it up for me.
Sure, I appreciate that, Sandra. Mr. Ponton, I have a lot of respect for you, sir, and I do hope that you put yourself forward. But at the core root of what came on and the negative consequences that we are experiencing goes back to the fact that those within the parliament who come back again and again are doing so because they have a cabal and they have garrison communities that keep putting them back in. Are you, Mr. Ponton, willing to put forth initiatives that will call for a national vote here in these Cayman Islands so that the populace, the electorate, can choose or refuse those who have proven themselves over decades to be a negative influence on the well-being and the interests of the Cayman Islands and her people, save for a very few. Secondly, I want to know, and we've had this discussion.
I'm not averse to any
for the office of Premier itself.
I'm not averse to any reasonable conversation, but we have a political system which has its genesis in the UK's Westminster system, which is promoted across all of the Commonwealth countries, and those that were previously part of the Commonwealth, which doesn't envisage that sort of approach. So that would be a discussion about a whole different animal, a whole different creature and construct. That we can have the discussion. I just don't know that that is the best way to do it. One of the serious things that we need to be doing is dealing with election finance reform. But turkeys don't vote for Christmas. Politicians, by and large, will not. Too many of them. I shouldn't generalize because there are some good people, but I think people know who I'm talking about. And they have their own views, which probably align closely, but they don't vote for Christmas. They're not going to. They're going to resist change. They're going to resist any election finance reform because they're afraid that it puts them at a disadvantage, where they used to receive funding before. They won't get the same kind of funding. I mean, I personally think that we ought to change it so that the government pays everybody the same amount of money to campaign, and you then campaigning on your merit, you're campaigning on your qualifications, and you don't have people being given money to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, it in some cases benefits our certain people in our community and certain of the voters. The problem is that you end up with special interests and controlling your country and controlling your political process, and that may end up leading to dire consequences for the country and bigger impacts on those people who can least afford it.
We do have another caller. Morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Am I on air?
Morning. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning. My name is Jordan. I'm a young Caymanian. Good morning, Mr. Ponton. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Right. I'm calling you because I don't know if you all remember when we had that nor'wester some months ago that down there by Tortuga, Cracktunk, and also the new developments were getting basically washed right through. And doing my own research, I've come to find out through a person that works with DOE that the environmental impact study is almost coming like an opinion that these people give back to the developers, and they can choose to do what they want to do with the information, which is very sad to know because it basically leaves no importance to the environmental impact study, right? When you sit down and think about things as far as that development, if that can't even take a nor'wester, and we've had horrible ones years ago. We had Michelle that took a bad turn on the same northwest coast, because I was born and raised Northwest Point. Okay, had a bad turn down there, and we have developers coming in doing all sorts of stuff now, and just basically taking it as opinion. I'm going to show you something else. I mean, as I'm aware, Mr. Ponton, I don't know you personally, but I also know you very keen on the environment. You like to go boating, go on the water.
I'm very keen on the interests of our country and our people. And yes, that includes the environment.
I'm not going to limit it there, but just on this topic, I'm going to draw that for reference, okay? When you sit down and look at the fact, look at this this thing that is sea sound connectivity that Dark put down there, okay? I have boats that have toilet towers. If I need for any reason to pull that boat out of West Bay Road Yacht Club, okay, to take to say up there Prospect by down Marina Drive. What's the name of the place down there? That you fix your boat and stuff like that. That's right there on the north side. I know Mr. Ponton know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Is that Harbor House?
Harbor House, correct.
Yes.
Right? If for any reason I need to pull that boat out in order to take that up there, I can't. It can't clear there. Right after they did the first phase, okay, where it was just from the commander base side, they had not did the part to go over towards the sea. Right? You had I remember they posted a video of it of a long flatbed truck with a load of PVC pipe, big PVC pipe that couldn't even clear it. My question is who stated that the kid from West Bay to go into town or anywhere, that would be the limit we need to clear? There is no care going into the things that are done. The money that they're paying, it just goes through. I've witnessed multiple CPA situations that have taken place where CPA is denied because they denied that same thing. They denied the same sea to sound connectivity, but it kept building. Not one day did it stop building, and then all of a sudden it's fine, right? It has come too long now that we have a situation where the money does it. Right? I always constantly hearing that government is bringing down the UK to consult on different things. We're talking about making new roads. Why is it that the UK has the only time the UK, I've lived there. So when I speak to you, I'm speaking from knowledge, okay? The only time you see the UK bus and train service, and don't get me wrong, and I expect the trains to be here, but the only time that the bus service doesn't work is if those workers go on strike or if there was some incident that doesn't make them meet there but between the time that is displayed to you for them to be there. So what we need to do is turn this around. We have a transport issue. UK, for the most part, has that together. Why are we not looking to them for that type of advice? But here we are having to be concerned about environmental impact study that they don't care about. Because let's just be honest, they don't care about, because if they had cared about it, we wouldn't have a lot of this issue going on. When you look on West Bay Road, when they're building up, especially when they're getting towards by the wharf there, that new development, that thing is on a rise. What is it going to do? They're going to turn that shallow road into a gully. Okay? These are things that we could commonly look at. But as far as I'm concerned, we draw to the UK for things that we could simply handle ourselves. But the things that we really need assistance for, we're not going to them for it. We're not going to them for it. When you hear an environmental impact study is taking place and it's basically graced off as an opinion, but the work still goes through, who you think will have to battle all of that? Look at Northwest, like I said, when that storm took place, that was like a river.
Okay, thank you, caller.
Thank you.
All right, my dear, appreciate it. Now, we do have, I'll just share this quickly on the screen so you guys can take an opportunity to look at this. We do have the EIA document showing the timeline. This is a 5-page document going back to 2005. So that's now what, almost 10 years. March of 2005, the DEO, the Department of Environment, writes to the managing director of the NRA, who at the time was Colford Scott, and Edward Howard was copied in it, saying that the EIA process should be applied. And we have a quote here. This would represent an information gathering and rationalization phase during which all alternative options, including the do nothing option, would be objectively identified and evaluated. Larger issues like the source of aggregate for the road, stormwater drainage, growth management strategies, compatibility with other national policies and plans would be factored in at this stage. DOE would caution that the gazetting of this corridor without proper evaluation has the potential to create false expectations from the perspective of landowners and developers, and the East-West corridor represents a massive capital investment for the country. It is critical that proper planning and evaluation take place. And to be clear, this would be the largest development, project that this country has ever undertaken. So, in my opinion, the very suggestion that it should be done without an environmental impact study is quite ludicrous. I mean, exactly. I don't know who would do that. I mean, that's crazy talk, So, this was 5 pages of what should have been done, deadlines, and the last one from October of 2022. DOE met with EIA consultant and learned that NRA has requested 2 separate EIAs for 2 phases of the road. Both DOE and EIA consultant agree that one EIA, which considers the full road corridor, would not only be cheaper and faster, but it would also deliver a much better outcome for the EIA process. So we see lots of delays here. 5 months went between May 2022 and October 2023. 22, nothing being done. So 9 months passed back in 2020. So to Cassia's point, without a doubt, there are delays, but the question really that you should be asking yourself is, why are there delays? So here we have, in December of 2020, Mark Scotland now calls again, saying that they do not want to do the EIA. So there's constant flipping and flopping all over the place. In 2020, Mark Scotland was not a representative of the people. So does that mean that he was acting as a consultant for NRA? I don't know what his official capacity would have been, but the constant back and forth. Look in red at Cassius if you want to talk about where the delays are occurring and why it's not being done. I would say to you that this has nothing to do with Mr. Panton. Mr. Panton wasn't in government in 2020 when 9 months passed, when another 6 months here passed and nothing was done. Another year and 5 months passed in 2017. Between 2017 and 2019, there was zero movement on this at all. I'm just saying, here's another 1 year and 3 months between January 2015 and April of 2016.
Yeah.
So, you have horrible delays. This goes back even to my point with OFREG and the whole dispute now with CUC. You go 5 years and do nothing, and then you want to blame the party who has been waiting for you to do something. It's like, come on. All right, folks. Sustainable Cayman says the purpose of an EIA is to safeguard citizens. It explains how to build the road, not how to stop it. A few more comments we'll read, and then we'll get back to Mr. Panton here. This person, let me see, where do we leave off? Jonathan says greed and corruption, wherein they use the privilege of their underserved positions to prostitute their influence, pandering out to the highest bidder. Amani says, yes, the Eastern districts need a road, but not in the manner in which the government is doing it. The government is only concerned about the Eastern Road being completed if it's done the way they want it, rather than taking the appropriate advice that's actually needed to get the job done how it should be. There's this question, and I think one of the somebody said about, let's go through what the government is proposing to be done. And one of the things, Mr. Panton, that I'm understanding that they're proposing is to remove the necessity for any sort of expertise when it comes to environmental impact. Why would you not want expertise? I mean, that confuses me.
Because it may be inconvenient to those who want to do and achieve whatever they plan to do. If you have somebody with a scientific background, with a data-based argument or empirically analyzed argument and demonstrated argument, it becomes inconvenient. These are people that don't care about long-term outcomes. They care about their immediate prosperity. Long-term outcomes and impacts on our people and impacts in the long term on the country, be damned. They don't care. They care about making money now. So this is the challenge we have. People talk about Cayman needs to be like Singapore. Well, guess what? Singapore had a single party state for nearly 50 years. They had the closest thing you could get to a benevolent dictator at that time. Somebody who looked forward and put in place things that would benefit the country and benefit the people in 10 years and 15 years. But we have this construct of 4 years of government with an inability for people to look beyond the 4 years and to do what they should be doing in the best interest of the country. Somebody does something that is not going to show the benefits until 6 years down the road. Well, by the time they get to 3 years and 6 months, there's somebody out there saying, hey, this isn't working. So, fire these people, get rid of them, elect me. And it gets changed. It is completely short term, and it is what is tearing the country apart and creating this massive negative impact on our quality of life. And if people would only just cooperate and work together with a common interest, a common goal, and not be pulled all over the place by special interests and serving those special interests, we could get somewhere that our people could look back and say, gosh, this is, we have made some amazing progress.
Just a couple things here. This one went out today, and someone sent this to me. This is from MP and Minister Sabrina Turner. This one says that this press release, I don't know that it was a press release. I guess it was a statement sent to her residents about the standing water issue in Prospect as of June the 12th. So that must have just gone out this morning. But this one says this press release from Sabrina Turner singles out the DOE as a challenge. WTF, what is she even talking about? So in paragraph number 3, she says here that the government has been presented with some challenges from the Department of Environment, and we will continue to work through the hurdles until we get a permanent solution once and for all. So this was in relation to the installation of culverts, a lift station, and keeping swales cleared to address stormwater management. This person who's in the know says that there have been 0 objections or hurdles or problems or challenges, whatever you want to call it, from the Department of Environment. So this is another example where members of this current government just blame everything on DOE when there has been even no contact with DOE, and this is blatant misinformation. And they wish for Sabrina Turner to please correct this statement today that has been sent out to members of her constituency, because they say this is not accurate. DOE, my apologies, has not been in contact with her. They've not told her anything about any challenges. So they don't know where she's getting that information from. And they have unequivocally said that if she's getting it from the Minister of Planning, that they both need to issue corrections in relation to that. So crazy. This one says planning. This is a comment that came in on WhatsApp. Planning and the CPA allows the developer to come back after it's been voted down, because that is the law and it's allowed. People need to realize that the country has been sold out. And then they said Marina Drive, to that caller who was asking about the marina down there. The director of planning thinks and has said 3 enforcement officers are enough to manage the Cayman Islands. The delays are caused by the same Caymanians that have the most to gain. Then in the Singapore comment, they said Singapore has a housing crisis that there, and they're overpopulated. And as such, they have resulted in building upwards. And Hunter weighed in on that and also said that Singapore also has people making over $100,000 a year that can't get out of government housing. What a mess. So someone says, I checked East-West Arterial EIA, and apparently the study work for the EIA is complete, and a list of alternative routes has been submitted to caucus. The Ministry of PAHI, that's Planning, Agriculture, Housing, and Infrastructure, I think, investment maybe, had a transport system team from the UK helping them with transportation. And so again, no movement from government on a number of different issues. So what a hot mess.
And I don't mean this to diminish my commitment and my feeling that the road is necessary. But it's just an example of how so many politicians just continue to lie to the people. For example, this statement that had been made about, oh, you're going to give you 1 more hour of sleep. Do you know what this is what I understand the NRAs then, and I don't know whether it's their consultants or whether it's somebody else within the NRA, but they've done an assessment of how much time the residents of the Eastern Districts, particularly North Side and East End, how much time they will save with the East-West extension in place. Can you guess how much time that is?
25 minutes?
10 minutes.
Oh, shoot.
Is what their assessment is in terms of how much time they will save. So to tell people that you're going to save an hour and you're going to be able to sleep 1 more hour and all this sort of stuff, stop lying to people. Stop demonstrating incompetence. Tell the people the truth and get people involved and let the civil service, let the public servants who know what they're doing, let them do their jobs properly. Stop interfering with it. We'll get further ahead and the people will end up with better results at a lower cost.
This person says this has got to be the worst government we've ever had. They are a disgrace to our country. Another person says you have senior managers, i.e. chief officers, deputy chief officers, and senior policy advisors, ill-advising ministers and using bureaucracy to draw out staff and use staff to take the fall. Wow.
We've had bad governments in the past. That's all I
Yes.
can tell you. I'm not going to say that this government is the worst, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that if you want to make sure that you're in contention for that, go right ahead and try to gut the National Conservation Act, and you see how people feel about that. Because I guarantee you'll end up with the unenviable title of being the worst government.
Mm-hmm. This person says, point of clarification, there's a clear path through Kimana Bay was required under the NRA agreement, and you go through the town center. All right. Wow. Lots of things
Sandra,
here.
you're only getting the public, and you are only getting the surface of this. There is
Yes.
so much more. There's so much more detail, and we just don't have the time to get into all of it. But you know, they are trying to, as I understand it, I haven't seen anything. And if there was legitimacy behind this, this should have been done months ago. This should have been, a bill should have been out for consultation for months, right? And they should have been out speaking to it, but they're not. And I don't know what the plan is, but there's speculation that there's going to be an attempt to bring it on short notice and all sorts of stuff. I don't know, but that is certainly not justified. There is the power to short notice legislation. The provisions around that don't actually tell you exactly in what circumstances you can do that. But I think by implication, it should be things that are in the national interest, things that are regarded as more of an emergency. I mean, I did it on one occasion, and that was in relation to the amendments to the Immigration Transition Act to deal with the need to have new people who are coming in on work permits vaccinated. Obviously, in the context of reopening borders and that type of thing, there was an urgency for that. So it wasn't a highly complex and detailed piece. It wasn't an entire significant change, fundamental change to the overall legislation. What's being proposed here is nothing short of a disgrace to try to pander to elements of our society that don't have the long-term interests of the country at heart, only have their desire to win, their desire to be right and to get revenge, and to be able to do whatever they want to do. And it's wrong. We should have gotten past this type of stuff years ago, but this is going to take us back to the days of being a banana republic. This is going to take us backwards. This is going to truly be regressive. To try to remove the requirement for environmental impact assessments for government projects, for example, or any other projects.
Yes.
Really? Government is the one that's going to be doing the projects with the most significant impact. You would think that it is the government that should be setting an example. It is the government that should be seeking to ensure that they get the best possible information before making a decision. But it seems that they rather
be leading by example as well, right? I mean, let's be honest.
That's what I said. Yeah, they're leading by example.
Yeah.
Demonstrating to the rest of the country how it should be done. I mean, we have loads of neighbors around the Caribbean who do this. Jamaica does EIAs for building roads. Countries like Belize do it. Bermuda does. Most of the OTs do it. Most of the OTs have a very positive perspective on the environment, and they're concerned about climate change. I mean, where's the climate change policy? All the work that was done on that, it was ready from last year. We're now in the middle of June. We're into hurricane season now, and there's no climate change policy. Where is this? I mean, we did a risk assessment, a climate change risk assessment, which identified 50 risks. 18 of those risks were severe. Half of the 18, so 9, were relevant to industry, relevant to financial services, relevant to people, the economy, critically or severe risks that we should have a policy in place that's addressing.
Mm-hmm.
The other 9 related to environmental things and critical habitats and that sort of stuff.
So if
half of your severe risks relate to the economy,
mm-hmm.
you have to take that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
Right. So some of the changes Cassius is asking and others, like we said, we haven't actually heard anything from the government yet, so we can't say definitively. Supposedly, these discussions are happening.
No, the discussions are happening. I can tell you that. I know that much.
Yeah,
I don't know all the details.
I was going to say supposedly they're happening behind closed doors.
That's exactly what it is.
My apologies. And again,
as I said to you, it was the underlying rationale, impetus for certain members moving from government back in November or October and November last year.
Mm-hmm. So supposedly
to create a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, one of the things that they want to do is to remove the requirement for government projects to need an EIA. So everything from like the port project, which the people have pretty much made their position clear in that, to the East-West Arterial, any government project, even the Brat School.
Let me just point out something to you.
Yes.
It is you in that context where you mentioned port, you're talking about an EIA requirement for a cruise port or any significant changes to the cargo as well. That is one relevant factor. An EIA was done previously by the PPM government. It was done then, but the people of this country signed a petition in significant numbers saying don't do this. In such numbers that it would have been foolhardy for them to proceed. You don't think that a lot of this that's going on now relates to the things that are the projects that are underway right now, right? That's not the case. They're looking down the road because there are plans in this country to do astronomical projects, one of which is a proposed new port, which will have major environmental implications that they don't want to have to deal with. They don't want experts to be telling them these are problems. Now, under the Water Authority law, the Water Authority has the ability to direct the planning department to say, refuse that application because of the negative impacts that we see it bringing for matters that are under our remit. You don't hear them carrying on about, oh, we got to change the Water Authority law, and Julia Van Genderen just has way too much power, and this and that and the other. You don't hear that. When the planning department says this shouldn't be done this way, it should be done this way, which is probably more rare than not. You don't hear them saying, get rid of the planning department. They get rid of planning. The truth is, planning, we don't even do planning. Let's face facts. We don't do planning. We do permitting. We do building permitting. That's all. Now, the building control unit tries to make sure that that the fire stuff is addressed properly and all the safety of life stuff. But the broader agenda of proper planning in this country is, and the fact that we don't have any being done is why we have all these problems today. Why we have all this problems with people, neighborhoods flooding all the time, and water not draining away, and you know, we seem to be directed by the private sector rather than a considered approach to planning, so that this small little country of ours can develop sustainably and properly, so that we all end up with positive benefits, or at least the negative impacts are heavily mitigated.
All right, we have a voice note that has been sent in.
Good morning, Sandy, and good morning, Mr. Panton. Thank you very much for raising this very important critical issue that we're facing today. For me as a resident, I have been asking about the flooding impacts in the East Georgetown district now for more than 10 years. You have examples of where poor decisions have been made. Roads are flooding increasingly due to displaced water. Properties are as well. Low-income communities such as Randite Gardens are extremely vulnerable, and pollution is discharging into those areas and also onto our beaches and into our oceans. Currently, the National Conservation Council is the authority able to help and direct on these matters, empowered by the National Conservation Law. There are a host of other issues that they can help with, but the move by the government to remove a committee of technical experts who serve the interest of the public to safeguard them against poor decision-making is very concerning to me. I'm calling on my Georgetown East Member of Parliament to not support the efforts of the government to strip out these protections, and I would encourage every resident of Georgetown East to do the same. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, so that's one listener to the program. Hunter says, why is it even a consideration if the people have spoken? Jonathan says, since when has the will of the people really even been a consideration? Someone reminding us this morning, they said, Sandy, go backwards in time. The Hansards from December of 2013. Alden McLaughlin said the following: if I thought for one moment that what we are proposing was going to sterilize and render valueless the land of anyone in Cayman, but particularly the land in the eastern districts, which has been in my family for 6 generations now, if I thought for a moment that would be the case, you can believe that I would have great concerns, and I certainly would not be here as a leader of the government standing up, not just supporting, but actually being part of the team that is proposing this legislation for the country. That was his position in 2013. Very, very firm position indeed. And there's this narrative that, the requirements of the National Conservation Act have empowered Ms. Gina Petrie to basically do what she wants, and it's slowing down development. All we have to do is go back to the 2021, this would be March of 2021, Chamber Forum, where then Premier Alden McLaughlin was talking about the impact on development. And his position is that Cayman continues to need further development. This was a Q&A answer that he was responding to. And he talked about how great the country was doing because of development. So, Mr. Panton, when people say that the requirements of the EIA have been detrimental to projects and to development in this country, how do you juxtapose that against what former Premier Alden McLaughlin was saying just in 2021, that development and construction continues to be a key sector in this country? And like you said, we look around, we certainly do see visually a lot of projects going on as well. So
Sandra, I mean, what he is talking about there, and recognizing that in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, he stood in Parliament and made these comments about requirements for EIAs for government projects that were ridiculous. He then tried to put together a committee to review the law. And I think after three meetings, I believe it was abandoned because it was very clear that the allegations that were being made were unsubstantiated. And my friend Sir Alden is not somebody who is going to back lies, right? When he sees the evidence, he's going to acknowledge it. And that's what he did. That's what you were just describing there. He acknowledged that the evidence demonstrates that the allegations are false.
Mm-hmm.
The National Conservation Council, its work, and the National Conservation Act, and Gina Petrie as the director of the Department of Environment, is not stopping development. Right? It may be trying to give people advice on things that they don't want to hear, maybe trying to tell them do things a bit differently because of the impacts you're going to face. People don't like that type of thing, especially people with money who feel privileged and feel like they ought to be able to do whatever they want to do. But that's why we have regulators. That's why we have planning. That's why we have planning, and that's what planning should be doing a better job. The NCC and the DOE and the way they work together, they should be the people that are giving this kind of advice. And guess what? In 99% of the cases, the advice that the DOE gives on a project that they're being consulted on or application that they're being consulted on is not mandatory. It's a recommendation. And too often the recommendations get ignored. I mean, good example is what happened in February when we had that Northwester. Look at the damage that we had there, Sandra. All those waterfront properties getting pounded to pieces, getting the ground floors washed out completely. The impacts on value, the impacts on people's lives and disruption and the various damage. And the DOE could go back and show in respect of each of those projects, this is what we recommended. And so what they were showing was, this is exactly why we were telling you should set this back from the water and not give a variance.
Yep.
To
Yeah, and there it is. They actually have a map demonstrating a little bit of see, we told you so.
Well,
so
it's unfortunate. Nobody wants to be in a position to say I told you so when the impacts are so egregious.
Yes.
But this is unfortunately the reality. These impacts are demonstrable. But anyway, my point is that far from being this all-powerful body, it is a body that gives advice that is not binding, and they're resented for giving that advice. And when people are and even further, they get resented because they say I told you so. And the developers then turn around and say, "Oh, you're causing me difficulty in selling my projects now because you're publicizing these impacts." Well, our DOE is not publicizing impacts. NCC is not publicizing impacts. Reality is in front of everybody. This is why we have a disaster going on 7 Mile Beach, because over the years we continue to pander to developers and people who wanted this change and that change, and we continue to change the goalposts and move the development line to the point where it's ridiculous. Now we're down on the mean high water mark. So the public side of the beach is like 2 feet, because that's about the level of the change in between high tide and low tide.
Wow. Let me just say this.
All of our beaches are being washed away because we're building walls right down in the dynamic beach zone.
Yeah. Let me just say this quickly, Premier Panton. I know it's 10:30 now. We can't go much into overtime, but to our radio listeners, I know the feed's going to disconnect here shortly. This is just a part one of this discussion. This is so important that we need to have multiple conversations around this. We will be talking with experts who will come and do a roundtable discussion. We're trying to arrange all of that. So please prepare. This isn't something like education or many other issues facing this country that we can just superficially brush over. We're going to do some deep diving. So continue to obviously tune into the program, and we'll continue to make this information available, and we'll ask the other side. I mean, they say that they've got a position. We're going to ask them to come forward and let us hear from them as well. But here's a statement from back in 2021 at the Chamber Forum, where again, former Premier Alden McLaughlin said in his main address to the chamber, this is a media report, he lauded the success of the construction sector here, saying that nearly 750 development projects were approved in 2019. 750 approved in 2019, with a combined total value of more than $890 million. He is quoted as saying, "This is a track record of success that I am proud of, that my government is proud of, and that all of Cayman can be proud of," adding that he and the government had worked hard to get more projects over the line before the election. He went on to say, "Our construction industry continues to do well, and the flow of projects coming through the planning process is testament to ongoing investor confidence in these islands and in this government." McLaughlin added that he underscored the ongoing commitment to more of the same. So again, I'm asking the question, if this was certainly the last government's position, the previous government's position, I should say, that development was booming at the seams, where's the issue with environmental assessment? What's the problem? I'm a little bit of a loss here.
All of the statistics, Sandra, point to the conclusion that it has not had anywhere near the kinds of significant or dire impacts that these people claim it has to try to justify doing what they want to do, and that is to eviscerate or gut the law. The whole basis of the law was to try to put environmental considerations in tandem with all of the other considerations that were going on, planning and the protection of our water lands and all this other type of stuff. That's what it's designed to do, and it has been doing that to some extent. It hasn't been. There are people who feel it doesn't go far enough, but I think at the very least, the law needs to stay as it is, because the evidence is very clearly that it is not having the kind of impacts that they claim. There have been 11,000 applications or thereabouts, give or take, maybe a little bit more. And I know since the law was brought into effect, I think this is up to 23 or something, the end of 23. And I know I looked at these statistics, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, and it's all quite similar. The percentage of applications that are considered for the need for an EIA is less than 1%. It's around, it seems to consistently average about 0.75% of all applications. And of those matters, of those ones that are considered to possibly require EIAs, only about a third of them end up with a conclusion that you definitely need to do an EIA. So it's a very small percentage.
Just give me those numbers again. You said the initial was 1% of. Just repeat that.
So what I was saying is that there's, I think the record up to the end of 23 was about 11,000 applications that were considered during the time that the NCC's operation existed. So from the beginning of the NCC's operation, National Conservation Council's consideration of applications, and that means anybody, if you're doing a planning application, if NRA is doing considering doing something, if somebody else in government is planning to do something, if it has a potential for impacting the environment in a negative way, then they should go to the NCC and ask them about it and get their opinion, right? There's been about 11,000 of those applications. 11,000. I mean, Cayman's not. We love our country and we like to believe and we are certainly punching well above our weight in so many areas. But 11,000, that's a huge amount. But only a small fraction of those has the NCC ever said this might require consideration for an EIA. So it's about 0.75% of the applications that were considered for an EIA, and only about a third of those applications at the end of the day. So about 20%, 20, 25, between 20, 25%, 23%, something like that, that they decided, sorry, not 25, 23%, 0.23%, they decided needed an environmental impact assessment. That's a very tiny number of all of these applications. So people will make statements to have you believe that, you know, all these projects are requiring EIAs. That's not the case. The major projects that are being proposed require EIAs. The types of things that government is doing, we're trying to build this road and extend it up east to give people in the eastern districts better access and a safe road to be able to use when there's hurricanes or when there's an accident or something, some alternate approach and access into the eastern districts. That requires an EIA because of the areas in which it's being built. How could you not want the evidence to demonstrate that you're doing the right thing in the right way, and you don't have to go back and spend another $10 or $15 million or $20 million or $40 million, depending on the size of the problem, to rectify it? Or you're not causing houses in Northwood, in Woodland Drive, in Belford or Lookout, or further up in Frankstown to flood out where flooding didn't occur before. Or you're not destroying the tranquility and peace and quiet that they enjoy being well back from the existing road, you know, by causing all this massive amount of road noise and stuff. These things have to be done properly, and the suggestion that EIAs are a problem is nonsense. The insistence by some people that they do not do an EIA, they avoid doing an EIA, that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. The suggestion that Gina Ebanks-Petrie is somebody with all this power is nonsense. That's a problem because it vilifies a strong, educated Caymanian woman, and they're trying to make people believe that she is the one that's responsible for certain things not being allowed, when her work does not fall upon her alone. She works through a technical review committee that sits and they meet. They're dedicated people. They meet once a week, and there's probably 6 or 8 of them that sit down and they go through these applications and consider the implications, and they make recommendations, and then the recommendations are sometimes adopted, but more often than not, they're ignored. And then we end up having what we had in February, with all of this plethora of damage to all these places because, they just ignored the recommendations and said, we'll give you the variance. Go ahead and build this 20 feet away from the shoreline. You know how frustrating that is for people to look back on that and think, well, we didn't have to do it that way. We didn't have to have those kinds of impacts. And once you build it, what are you going to do? The next northwester or the next hurricane, you're going to have the same problem. It's a recurring thing, and given the fact we have climate change, which is predicting increasing weather events, more serious weather events, that means more problems. Let's get it right to begin with, so we protect the safety of people, we protect the safety of their investments, and we end up with infrastructure that serves the needs of our people without or let's at least minimizing the impacts, the negative impacts.
All right, Premier Panton, you've said a mouthful this morning. I know that people have some food for thought, and I've got to get to court as well to do some court coverage. So we're not going to go into too much overtime today, but I want to thank you for coming on the program. Like I said to our listeners, this is a very important conversation that we need to be having around conservation, around the National Conservation Act, and the allegations of what this government are supposedly, again, they've not said anything publicly, But what they're trying to do, which we understand, is to remove requirements for the government to have to do an EIA, to alter the makeup of the National Conservation Council itself, including, listen to this part, including removing the technical expertise. I mean, what's the point then? And then to allow public departments to decide whether or not projects such as roads and multi-story tower blocks need to be referred to the NCC. Wow. I mean, they might as well just gut the entire NCC. What's the point?
Well, that's what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
They're trying to gut what little input it actually has at this point. They're trying to eliminate that completely.
Yeah, that's pretty
it is ridiculous.
Yes. And to be fair to them, we have reached out to one of their, one of the developers' representatives, and he has said that he's too busy to come on the program. So we'll find whoever on their side that isn't too busy to come and address the people of the Cayman Islands about these concerns. But it seems to me the people are very, very concerned about what is allegedly, again, the government has not said anything, what is allegedly being proposed. So, lots of thanks here. Mr. Amelia, I completely forgot. My apologies. I was supposed to call you back. I don't want Mr. Amelia carrying on bad down Windsor Park. Let's give her a quick call, but I'm going to ask her to keep it brief this morning because I completely forgot. I did promise to call her back. Yikes. Mr. Amelia, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to call you back. Can you make it quick?
Mr. Panton, she always doing it to me, sir. I need you to get her. She always doing it.
But in her defense, you see how she remembered it, and
this
she
morning
said
it
you're a priority to call her back.
3.5 hours. I left out of Easton just after 5:30 this morning.
Yes.
And by the time I got Georgetown, it was 8:30 something this morning.
Yep.
We need to do something about roads. They are more concerned about these big high-rise buildings going up. Why can't we get our people to be concerned about the seriousness of the issue of roads needed? Why can't they put, instead of the buildings, go build bridges? Build bridges like how other islands have that would get you into town less than no while. They're not got money for this, they're not got money for that. Tax the people that come to this island.
Mr. Amelia, did you listen to the show at all this morning?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there then, because the show was actually about the necessity to put in the East-West Arterial, but do it the right way. And so I'm going to invite you, before you continue with your concerns, to go back and listen to the show. And then we're going to have Mr. Panton back on in not too long, because I know you guys have been begging for me to have him back. Y'all been cussing me and carrying on. Where's Mr. Panton? Well, here he is today. But go back and have a listen. And the next show now, when we're back on this discussion again, we'll pick it back up. Because your comment about the East-West Arterial, very, very linked to today's conversation. All right, honey.
We need something. Will do. We need something done. And I'm still waiting on you to come into our communities.
Yes.
Still waiting on you with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Not on you. Okay, my darling. I enjoy you. Bye.
I think she said she can beat me up if I don't come. Those Windsor Park people, boy. Woo, they gotta be a little bit rough on me. All right, I'm coming, honey child. Let's soon come. Thank you so much. Melanie says, do we need a petition? Well, the petition has already begun, Melanie. I think we did an article on that a couple of days ago. So do go have a look at that. A petition has begun. And Hunter says, I think we need to march. Previous caller, Mr. Ebanks, said he's ready to march. And so, who will join him? All right. That's it for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Mr. Panton, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, as usual, for the good job you're doing. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on a very important issue like this. As I've said, and as you've acknowledged, this is only the surface of these issues. There is total misinformation around this. And I don't know, I cannot decide whether some people are just being misled or whether they're just intentionally taking a position that they know to be wrong, or they don't care, or they're reckless about whether it's right around just because it serves some interest of some friend of theirs or something. But this is a really, really important issue, and the people of this country ought to have their say on this. There should be public discussions about it. There should be public consultation. We spent more than 10 years talking about it prior to 2013. I spent months on the road throughout this country talking to people about it, explaining the proposals, listening to the feedback. That feedback was incorporated into 33 amendments. And now there are still people who wanted it. I mean, there was a struggle getting it implemented at different points during the time that I was in government with the Progressives, to be perfectly honest. I was promised at one time that there was going to be a 9-page letter from planning explaining why this wouldn't work or that wouldn't work. And I said, fine, give me the 9-page letter. Do you think that 9-page letter exists today? Do you think it ever arrived? No, it didn't. So they don't want to, I think what you're doing is right and commendable in terms of offering people the opportunity to come and discuss it. They don't want to be standing in the public domain to justify it. They want to try to stand in Parliament and get it over with and get it done to serve the interests of certain people who have been behind, too many of the politicians, not all the politicians. Some of them are my friends. Some of them will forever be wonderful, decent people, but too many, and particularly those that have been around for a long time, they're far too compromised. And we all know the people who have demonstrated in the past their inability to govern, their inability to do their jobs competently, and their proclivity to get involved in corrupt activities and be manipulated by people on the outside who are funding them.
All right, final comment of the day. Yeah,
I just want to wish a wonderful day to everybody in the Cayman Islands.
Thank you so much.
Despite the fact that we have issues like this and we have underhanded actions, and we have other problems that we have to address, we still live in one of the best places in the world. And
yes,
we have to continue to fight for that, because we can lose it, and it is too valuable to us. It's too valuable to our children. At the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Last comment. This person says, Mr. Panton remains our premier, the People's Choice premier. That Bible pelting. Oh my gosh. Will never be your premier. I'll let you guys read that on your own. Read this, please, and thank you. Joke is a negative environmental impact on our islands. Spots Newlands is already flooding. Water was up to my front doorstep, and I was literally trapped in my house on Monday. Irvelin says, thank you, Honorable Premier Panton. So thank you again to Mr. Panton for joining the program today. Like I said, this is our first in a series of discussions on this topic. So please continue to stay tuned and let your voices be heard. Every single one of us have a representative. Well, I don't feel like I have one, but anyway, I'm in Bodden town, but we're supposed to all have representatives. Reach out to your MPs and let them know how you feel on this topic. Listen, somebody was saying it earlier, and I was talking about the collective power of the people of the Cayman Islands. The people of the Cayman Islands, you ultimately vote them in office. And so you're supposed to be who they're working for, not developers, not multimillionaires and anybody else that they think they can get campaign funds and campaign money and turkey money and ham money from. They actually work for you, the people. And if you say this is not something that we are in support of, they need to be paying very, very close attention. Because the last time in my mind, a government did not listen to the people, i.e. the progressives, the PPM, as it relates to the port, I think that, the people were willing to make their voices be heard. So you've got to stand up. You've got to be willing to make your voices be heard again. Send WhatsApp messages, send voice notes if you guys want to start petitions. This now comes up to two very, very important things. It's going to be the power of lobbyists, big business, money, influencers on that side, developers, versus the power of the people. who are you? What side of this equation are you on? And that's entirely a matter for you individually to decide. But you've got to decide, where are you on this? When it comes to sustainability, you can't redefine what that is. You can't redefine what balance looks like, right? You can't push for 1,000 planning buildings per annum and say, oh yes, that's perfectly fine. And there'll be no environmental impact and we don't care about the environment. We don't want to hear from expertise. We don't want to look at protected zones and habitats and whatever. We all have to make choices. And so quite clearly, this is going to be, I think, a very pivotal time yet again in our history, where the people come next year, early next year, your voices are going to be heard. And I think the power of the people is important. And those who are in elected office, they already know we're less than a year out from a general election. So their behinds are on the line when it comes to this. There's a lot of issues in this community that they will not speak on because they feel like the general populace, including gambling and all sorts of other issues, even increasing the speed limits. There was a fight to do that because they thought, oh no, everybody's out there speeding and drinking and driving. We're going to ruffle feathers if we do that. But here they are with no concern at all when it comes to the National Conservation Act about ruffling the feathers of the people. And you need to ask yourself, why is that? Why do they not think the people would be upset about these so-called proposed changes? It's a question that we're going to delve into as we continue this discussion. So thank you guys very much. Siobhan, this is a question, Mr. Panton, in everybody's mind. They want to know, are you running again in the next election? Have you made up your mind?
I'm waiting for my wife to give me permission.
All right, there you have it. It's a family affair.
Because I am not going to. It's not going to. No matter what happens,
yeah,
it is not going to change my desire to speak to issues in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, everybody, please stay safe on the roads. You know, we need to slow down. We need to change some of the speed limits.
Yeah.
We need to legislation.
Well, first of all, we need to adhere to some of the speed limits.
Well,
did you see that report of the guy?
The traffic law was supposed to have been, Traffic Act was supposed to have been amended probably a year ago.
And that
hasn't been waiting on that.
that.
That was completely bogged down within the ministry. Nothing was being accomplished with it. That's why I had to take out the bit in relation to reducing the alcohol limit.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that has saved lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the year, we will see that it has saved lives. I hope to God, with any luck, that would be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because every life lost is a tragedy,
Yep.
is a
absolutely
loss of opportunity, loss of family members, and it's just terrible. Anyway, people, stay safe, drive carefully, have a wonderful day.
All right, thanks very much. All right, folks, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the Thursday edition. Please tune in. Nope, sorry, can't answer that. We got to run, honey chow. Y'all have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.